must support their PSS.
Ruto has further admitted that he has asked the leaders to serve Kenyans appropriately, saying that it's the government's responsibility to do so.
We did agree that the mandate given to us by the people of Kenya is a sacred mandate. It is a mandate not just given to us by the people of Kenya, but also given to us, more importantly, by God.
Energy and Petroleum CS Davis Chirchir has come out to clarify details of the controversial government-to-government oil deal, which has since been termed by opposition leader Raila Odinga as nothing but a sham aimed at driving up the cost of fuel while benefiting shadowy state officials. CS Chirchir rubbished Odinga's remarks, going ahead to explain the origin of the deal. He stated that the Kenya Kwanza administration, upon coming into power, put out a tender for government-owned international oil companies to bid for the supply of petroleum on 180 days deferred payment terms and a contract period of 270 days.
The deal was a scam for which we now demand full disclosure and full accountability. It is corrupt and rotten to the core. We find that you are being charged 217 shillings, but the actual price could be 187 shillings. Now, where we are not sure how that 30 shillings is being distributed, who is the beneficiary?
National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah on his part has said that Raila is deceiving himself about the understanding of the agreement, as the minister is the one that signed it on behalf of the government, calling Raila's claims propaganda.
Mr. Odinga, however, rightfully stated that the Kenya's Ministry of Energy and Petroleum did sign a deal with state-owned petroleum companies in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, Aramco in Saudi Arabia and ADNOC in the United Arab Emirates. Our question, therefore, to Mr. Odinga is what further definition of government to government?
President William Ruto's Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei has ordered the suspension of 6 chief executive officers over alleged corruption and procurement irregularities in their institutions. He has also ordered for the suspension of 67 police officers and an accountant at the Kenya Rural Roads Authority. The directives follow recommendations by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for the suspension of the officers who are currently under investigation. Kenya Power has entered a partnership with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to fight rising vandalism of electricity equipment. Kenya Power CEO Joseph Siror said that they've witnessed a recent surge in cases of vandalism and illegal connections across the country, leading to unplanned power outages that inconvenience customers. DCI has attached 42 officers to work with Kenya Power's security team, even as a total of 1,026 people have been arrested across the country since July last year. And in the international scene, the director of the Gaza Strip's main hospital, raided by Israeli soldiers, says the facility has now run out of oxygen and water and patients are screaming from thirst. Mahmoud Abu said the conditions were tragic in Al-Shifa, where there were more than 650 patients, 500 medical staff and 5,000 displaced people. Israeli tanks were surrounding the hospital in Gaza City with drones buzzing overhead and Israeli soldiers still moving around inside as their search of the complex lasted a second day. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption. Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's betting, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, hawa watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Friday. The heavens opened and rain is coming down in sheets in many parts of the country today. Let's take a look at what's happening in Nairobi, and I think that for traffic we'll be okay for now. It's just starting to build up in certain parts. We're looking at the thicker superhighway with some traffic, but actually it's not too bad. You make your way into the city without too much of a hiccup. And then we're also looking at nothing really coming off Mombasa Road. The Southern Bypass looks good. Your Lunga and also Jogoo Road coming in towards Landis and then out towards the Kamkunji roundabout. That also looks pretty good right about now. Are you coming out of Westlands? Also here, not too much of movement, at least not for now. So let's see how Friday is panning out to be. It looks like it started off okay. Talk to us through the morning on Spice FM KE on X. We want to keep things moving today and let us know what's happening in your neck of the woods so that we can do just that. Keep it moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 6:10 on this, 17, 18, 19. Yes, 17th day of November. It's the first Friday, the Friday of the week. How are you doing? And good morning and welcome. Got through the week. A lot of rain here and there. All over the country, it's coming down in sheets. It's a good thing. Farmers are happy. But then we're being told that the dams are not filling up. So, what's going to happen with that? But look, all the same, we are here and there's always something to give thanks for. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing okay. Getting into it and then getting off into a weekend. Kenya's biggest conversation starts here, and we are looking at a number of conversations that we will have today. All right. So Ndu with you here, CT also, and to say hello in just a bit. And as the day comes to a close, yes, we know Eric will be back soon, coming into the new week. A number of conversations we have lined up for today at 9 a.m. Let's go from the back and coming in towards the closest hour. The pain of corruption in Kenya, it is quite painful. And looking at, what should be. And when you look at the holes, then you will understand just how bad a thing it is. Joseph Okako is the CEO of the Ethics Institute of East Africa. He will be with us at 9 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, saving culture and investment for middle income earners. We need to understand who middle income earners are. And Muthoni Mwowo is the portfolio manager at CIC Asset Management. She will be with us here at 8 a.m. And then at 7, we'll talk with Wycliffe Otieno. He is a service provider at Mary Stopes, Kenya. It's World Vasectomy Day. World Vasectomy Day. Yay! I don't think it's a celebratory day, but it's a day that we now, commemorate everything. Hi, CT.
Do.
Yes?
You utter the word. You articulate it. And you go, yay.
I was just, how they say it's like,
well, a celebration is a yay.
You understand, Abi? So now, let's understand all about vasectomies.
But I don't see why it shouldn't be a yay moment, because unless, you see, if it was a procedure that was forced on people, there would be no yay to it. But if it's voluntary and someone understands what it is that they're doing, then there is seriously a yay moment.
You choose it, don't you? As a form of contraception kind of thing. Yeah, many things have been said. There are many myths surrounding it, etc., etc. But let's see, as we open up that conversation with Mr. Otieno this morning, let's see what exactly it means, and it all contribute to our Healthy Friday conversation. Siti, good morning.
Morning, Do.
I like your hat.
Thank you very much, Do. Thank you for the compliment.
You are welcome. I know you're going to tell me I have good taste.
I'm not going to tell you that, and I established a long time ago.
Okay, so here we are getting into the weekend. Many things are happening. You know what?
No, tell me what.
If we needed to establish it again, it is true that El Nino actually is here. 24 hours of rain in the eastern part of the country, 24 hours literally, and we're looking at the coast going towards Lamu and then also Kwale.
And then look at the sunny breaks in between.
Yeah, really sunny breaks, and then
sunny, and then it just there's an overcast, and before you know it, there's a downpour.
And if you look at the forecast for today, going into the weekend, we're looking at extended periods of rain from this morning well into Sunday. So the Met seems to have been correct in their forecast, and it just looks like it's happening as they said it would. But I really am a bit upset, because look at all of this water essentially that has gone to waste.
Is there anything we didn't say, or did we leave anything unsaid with regards to what should be done in order to benefit from the water, from water harvesting in whatever form, and looking into reasonable, cost-effective ways of ensuring that advantage is taken of? It was spoken of and spoken of and spoken of.
Even if it was makeshift damage, and now not like damage, but damage of what would have been done to save the water.
Yes, that we spoke of.
It's almost as though we're looking, because the Met, and also we're looking at world Met bodies who are telling us that so this phenomenon will be here until April 2024. So it's like we say, okay, so it's going to be raining for a minute, and even if it dries up a little bit, then we'll come back into the rains in October next year. But really, that's not it. And there could be storage of water. There could be proper storage of water.
In fact, where you find storage of water now is places that were perhaps not purposely intended for water storage, like this ditch they've dug in front of our gate here.
It's actually not a plan for storing water.
No, but it's doing exactly that.
It's doing that.
You actually have you now have a stream, because all the way starting from, I think, this hotel along the road here.
Which one? There too. There's Panari. There's Ole Serena.
I was thinking of Panari.
Okay.
Okay. Coming, because it's on the same side as we are.
Okay, this one.
Going all the way to GM. They've dug it nicely. It's now a stream.
It is.
Because it's full of water.
It is.
Now, does that make it easier to actually do what they're supposed to do? I doubt it. So, if I may conclude on this matter, I will say, so here we are.
Imagine here we are with all this drama. Good Lord. I know, it's a waste. It's a lot of waste. And look, it's not, a time is coming when we're going to be saying, oh, I wish there was water for irrigation so that we could, and finally, the National Cereals and Produce Board is opening their doors for maize storage to happen and other, grains to be stored. And then will come a time where we're going to use up everything that's available and then hope for more. Where here we have a chance to be able to actually store water so that you can plant and harvest through the year. But yeah, it's a heavy one. Good morning, everybody. Still, even regardless of all of that, 17 minutes after 6 o'clock, want to take a look at what's happening with the weather and see how the rain fronts throughout the country will be over the next couple of days. We'll be back in a minute. And then we'll say hello to you. We can see quite a number of you have trickled in and have balanced in the room. So we'll say hi in a minute.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who is a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk that midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
15 degrees, cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 15 today. It's clear at 14 in Nakuru, going into rain as well as Nairobi with highs of 23. 24 will be the high and mostly cloudy in Nyeri, and the rains are coming down here as well. It's partly cloudy at 14 in Eldoret, and rain also this morning, highs of 24. It's cloudy in Mombasa and heavily raining at 24 with highs of 30, and we're looking at cloudy conditions leaning into the rain in Malindi with highs of 30 and lows of 25. Kisumu is cloudy at 19. The rain is coming as well with highs of 28 and lows of 19, while it's raining as well in Kakamega at 16 with highs of 28 and lows of 15. We're looking into a mostly cloudy Kampala, and the rain is coming with highs of 27 and lows of 19, while it's cloudy mostly at 25 in Dar es Salaam, going to highs of 29 and lows of 25. Looking into a sunny Mogadishu at 25, highs of 32, and at 9 degrees it's mostly cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 24. Raining in Johannesburg at 17 with highs of 26 and lows of 16, while Lagos is clear at 26. We'll see highs of 33. Heavy rain this morning at 25 in Kinshasa with highs of 31 and lows of 25. And we're looking into a sunny Beijing at 7 Friday afternoon, highs of 10 and lows of -3. Paris is cloudy at 7 and London is cloudy at 6. 11 degrees and clear Thursday night in New York. Coming into Friday, highs of 18 and lows of 9.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
The room this morning, or rather quite a lot of people, and just saying hello to you. CT, everybody, even before we start saying good morning to them properly, they're saying how they like your hat.
Thank you.
You get it?
I get it.
Saying this hat inakutoa kabisa.
It has removed me.
It has removed you. Okay. Don Savo says good morning. Elias Kibor says good morning, tuned in from the cradle of humankind, and that's in Kakuma. Okay. Hey, good to have you in the room this morning. Don Sabo says, good morning, CT Ndu, who's our guest host. It's ghost host. In Malawi, night we say usiku in Kiswahili as well, and weekend we say wikiendi. Wikiendi. All right. Sir George Gashoiri says good morning to CT and the guest host, ghost host. Have a great day and a happy weekend to you too as well, brother. Patrick Osare says good morning, tuned in. Koru is okay. He says it's still raining cats and the monkeys are still here, so all good. Okay. Onger hapa naenda. The 2000 people, it's Friday, Sherehe Tuputu. Where is this place where it's just Sherehe? Meanwhile, Parliament approved the deployment of police officers to Haiti. Yes, they did. Geoffrey Mogaka says, good morning, CT Ndu, getting you tuned in from Molo. Salimia Edna. Edna ume salimika? Thank you. She says, love, and all around. Looking forward to insightful discussions. Have a blessed day and weekend ahead. Chris Adede says, good morning, Spice FM. Utawala is locked. And Griffin Anasi says, good morning, CT Ndu Edna. Today, the world marks the World Preterms Day. Big up to all parents of, Nishu babies and medical staff that have touched the hearts of those early souls. Indeed, a good one to watch out for. Desmond Ortiz says, good morning, CT. Do the Khoi-san still exist in South Africa? You would know this. I don't know. For some reason, he's called out on you. Do the Khoi-san still still exist in South Africa?
They do. They do.
Okay.
They are not extinct.
They're not extinct, yes.
No, they're not.
Patrick Courier is here this morning and says, good morning. Zachary Otieno tuned in. Good morning, guys. Tuning from Mombasa. Evans Tabo says, good morning. And Jennifer Eteni says, good morning. Tuned in as well. Spice Friday to you too. Good morning, guys. Alawi Abdul says, hi, CT Ndu Eric. Happy to start the weekend. Yes, withdrawal of cash via Imprest from banks is the last stage for misappropriation of money by government. Current Imprest say cash is to manage locusts. Really? Cyrus Kalasinga says, good morning. Good morning, Pete. Tuned in. Somebody told me that the fish will always start rotting from the head. It is true. If you want to see if a fish is fresh, you turn up the gills. And if it's red, pink, going towards red, rather if it's pinkish, it's still fresh. But that is where you test. If the head is not fresh, then just know that fish is not okay. Sindio?
Kabisa, and if it's green, something absolutely wrong.
If it's green, dupa.
In fact, go and disinfect your hand immediately.
You also need to be cleaned. Okay. Alex Nice says, hello, Ndu and CT. Lucia, as usual, is tuned in. Always nice to be around you guys. Well, it's always nice to have you in the room, I must say. Francis Wangoi says, tuned in from a rainy Karatina. And good morning, Spice FM, tuned in and ready for the morning insightful discussion as usual. We are very glad to have you here. There's so many people here and I want to get to all of you. Charles Ray says, good morning. Robertson Bogo. And Kawa Bish says, the El Nino phenomenon has gifted us a warm start to winter. Is it? On that side, it's 20 degrees. That's actually pretty warm in the Western Hemisphere. Owen Bosiri says, CT, nice hat. Irene Aziz is waving and we are waving back. Emma Nyaega says, good morning and happy week. Nice hat, CT. Monica Steve says, hello. Good to have you in the room. Everybody. Wanja, Kennedy, Polycarp, inspiring music. Everybody. Kofia CT inaweza. Good morning, everybody, and karibu sana. Really, really great to have you here this morning as we get into these conversations, and thank you for doing this with us every day. Let's do another one before we get into the end of the week. And as we kick off, let's get into today's proverb from DRC.
Yes, this is our final proverb from the wonderful country with wonderful people of DRC. The eye always envies what is forbidden.
You want the one you cannot have.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. Is it it?
You look at the one that, or the thing that you cannot have, and you crave it. You want to keep seeing it.
Yes.
C'est vrai?
Yes, c'est vrai. It's very vrai.
It's very, very vrai.
Yes.
Right. It's true. I don't even know that I can argue with that in any way. Not that one is supposed to argue with it, but it's true from experiences, from life generally.
Remember, there is a tool that we use for data collection, and it's embedded in the human structure and human capacities and beings. It's called observation.
Yeah.
You observe with your eyes. And when you observe, that information has been captured. When you observe again, that information is captured. So now from there, well, the progression of what happens thereafter is something that is very easy to chart.
Yeah.
Yes. From it springs negative sentiments like envy.
Jealousy, which is worse, by the way.
None is worse. Each
has its own.
Yes, each in its own way is as corrosive and as harmful
as the other.
Yes, there's none. Okay.
Voila. Okay. That's a good one to start on this week. And all right, let's look at the headlines. On the front page of the Standard. No. All right. Let us see. On the front page of the Standard today. The government is to spend 187 billion shillings more. Just when you thought, supplementary budget had its question marks. That was 200 billion. But now MPs yesterday called out state officials for their role in budget making after the supplementary budget was increased again by 187 billion. So now we're looking at a supplementary budget of what? 387 billion shillings more. Now, economic stability, you ask? Kenya has inked another 100 billion shilling loan. This is in the economic pages on the national, economic story, the national pages of the Standard this morning. My goodness, it gets heavier and heavier. Rhino Odinga made an appearance yesterday behind the podium, and this is the story that's splashed on the front page of the Standard. Ruto oil deal a scam. Opposition leader says the government did not enter into deals with other governments, but instead framed it that way to facilitate 3 companies to avoid paying corporate tax, a charge that he said has been passed on to consumers. He asked the government to not only cancel the deal, but also make it public. What do you think the chances of this actually happening are? We'll wait and what? We'll wait and see, and we'll look into that story. On the tickers this morning, no feast for Mwangaza just yet. Meru governor says she is ready for the dissolution of the county a day after MCAs said they will impeach her cabinet. Okay, we can't get you. We'll remove all the people around you. Ex-roads boss to forfeit 500 million shillings. Former senior manager of the Rural Roads Authority will surrender property worth $500 million, the court said, was proceeds of graft. Do you realize something, CT? Look everywhere. On the front page, 187 billion, 100 billion, 17 billion, $500 million. The kind of money that we're talking about a few years ago, we're talking about in the hundreds of millions. Now, yes, everything, if it doesn't reach billion, then it's not even worth talking about whether it be a scandal or whether it be spend or whether it be loans. Just look at those numbers. It's crazy. Gaps emerge in 17 billion petrol deal saga, and the drama there continues to continue.
What I find interesting, though,
sheesh,
is how it is the Standard has framed this. Okay, government to spend this colossal amount, that we've got it. Okay, then MPs yesterday called out state officials for their role in budget making. Who is supposed to make the budget?
See, you're a budget making parliament.
Precisely.
Yes.
After the supplementary budget was increased. So what are they saying exactly? By the way, we'll look into that, won't we?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
In a bit. I want you to give us, it is Friday, the headlines on the Nairobian. This should be fun.
No, Nairobian is always fun. There's no question about it. Okay. Hey, God almighty. Yeah.
Cindy?
Why? Okay. let's just go with it. Forget Muliro Gardens. See, Lahi is the new Green Lodge in town. This is about a resort that has green written all over it in Kakamega. What are you so laughing at me?
Did you say resort?
Resort.
Okay. Please
resort.
Resort. It's a resort. Huh?
Okay. Cattle rustling. Remote village that draws plans to steal livestock. Well, they're organized. This story on page 9. These guys sit down, plan. They have a strategy. Yes? You know your strategy? Right, they have that one. Kulichoko nguoni. Kikulacho nguoni. Why pastor surrendered wife to a man he found? You can fill in the gaps. Far be it from me. Yep, he found the man.
It is not going to be you who will say
he
it.
Found the man. Okay.
He found the man.
A deceptive looks. It's bang in the middle of the paper. The inside story of well-organized multi-million handset theft involving women. Beauties join phone theft syndicate. Young recruits undergo months of training in city's Dandora estate before being strategically deployed across the Nairobi city centre and residential areas. They are meticulously trained in the art of theft, pickpocketing more like it, given assignments such as snatching or robbing phones, all under the protection of the police, who turn a blind eye when they are stealing or robbing.
My goodness.
Yes.
That's not a happy story.
Yes, then there's one. These guys don't have a tail green corner, but they have a yellow corner, right hand. Love, deception, and digital drama.
It continues.
There's no end to it, in short.
Yikes. Okay, we're going to get into the meat of some of these stories. I must say that I really did enjoy your headline reading of the Nairobian. We should do it more often. How's that for Friday fun? All right, let's take a break and look at what's happening with traffic, and then we'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
You tuned into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyan.
Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom? I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, actually still not much happening this morning, and we always see the progression maybe after 7. The roads are still wet. It seems like rain is a thing that people fear more than, I don't know what else, but it's not happening right now. There's free movement to the CBD coming off of Thika Superhighway, and there's also free movement right around North Airport Road going towards Outer Ring. Outer Ring, by the way, in and outbound traffic from the Thika Superhighway junction all the way to the Embakasi junction. You won't have a problem getting in and out, at least not for now. You're coming out of Westerns, there you're also fine. Gong Road is looking good as you're getting into the CBD this morning. So we're probably going to get closer to traffic hour before we see any kind of movement really that we ought to worry about. But it looks as though folks are having an easy time getting out and about. Talk to us on Spice FM KE on X, and let's keep things moving this morning.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Look at this story. Supplementary budget was at 200 billion shillings. So essentially supplementary to the budget for the year. Members of Parliament in the Budget and Appropriations committees have been sitting over the last couple of weeks, and so this is what they've come up with. Now, members of Parliament are querying what they essentially should be doing. But okay, let's go with it. Legislators have slammed the government over the major changes in the budget for the current financial year, just months after the start of the year. The MPs who make up the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee expressed deep concern over what appears to be the government's shifting of goalposts shortly after getting its spending plans for the 2023-2024 year approved in June. The implementation of the budget started in July. Now, the National Treasury submitted a supplementary budget in late October that had major changes, which have resulted in an increase in overall spending and pushed up the fiscal deficit, which is likely to push the government into taking up more debt. And we already see that. This is on page 5 of the Standard, by the way. And on page 4, we see brace for IMF bitter medicine as Kenya inks another 103 billion shilling loan. It seems like what we're actually trying to do at this point is see how much you actually can borrow before the thing bursts. But all right. Now, the National Treasury had submitted this. The mini budget has also increased tax revenue collection targets for the Kenya Revenue Authority, which struggled to meet the target for the first quarter between July and September. Unsettling for the committee chaired by Ndindi Nyoro is the sharp increase in government's overall spending by 187 billion that now pushes the budget for the 2023-2024 financial year to get this CT 3.93 trillion from the 3.74 trillion that was approved in June. The recurrent budget went up by 86.4 billion, while the development budget was reduced by 40.9 billion, which might mean cutting back on critical areas such as building roads and expanding health infrastructure. The committee also raised concerns about the increase in the recurrent budget, questioning why there was oversight by government officials during the budget-making process who failed to capture planned projects at that time. This has necessitated the mini-budgets early in the financial year. So this is interesting for me. Members of Parliament are questioning, why are we making a change after all the budget had already been approved, and why are we seeing such high changes or such great changes in the budget? Now, let's look at the budget making, shall we, for a minute? 3.93 trillion. That's how much the government plans to spend over the year from the earlier approved of 3.74 trillion. 145.49 billion shillings is the increase in allocation to the Consolidated Fund for Public Debt Service, which has gone up due to the depreciation of the shilling against major world currencies. We saw yesterday that because of this depreciation, you're adding an extra 3 billion shillings per day. So, like we said, to get out of this will be a tough call. 861.3 billion shillings is the budget deficit in the supplementary budget has increased to so let me take that again. The budget deficit in the supplementary budget has increased to 861.3 billion from the earlier budget where it stood at 718.9 billion. Now, there are increased allocations to education, the sector one, including an additional 19.7 billion to the TSC. Remember yesterday we were saying, will they hire? This is where that money is coming from. 10.2 billion for Higher Education Loans Board, 5.5 billion for junior secondary school capitation, 3.5 billion for University Funding Board, 4.8 billion for technical vocational and educational training, which are TVETs. So, according to them, more money is going towards education, but will it actually reflect when it's time for capitation to be paid?
Is this the first time we've heard of money being allocated for the employment or deployment of CBC teachers or new teachers? No, it is not.
No, it is not. It is not.
We've had stories of, it started with 30, 300. The numbers of teachers being deployed, we keep hearing of it, and then what has accompanied the saga or the narrative is money is also being allocated. Then we have the 680 or 90 billion that has been allocated for education. We hear, okay, we also hear the number of teachers who are going to be employed. Again, we hear. You see, when you hear of such large amounts being allocated, and yet what was supposed to have been sent to schools has not been sent, or was it sent and I wasn't informed?
It was not sent.
Yes. So what exactly are you telling us? That we are supposed to believe that these huge amounts are going to make their way into achieving this, when the very thing that is required to keep the schools running has not been accomplished? What are we supposed to believe?
Mark my words. Yes. January 9th, 2024, children are going back to school.
Yes, they are.
February 6th, thereabouts, Form 1s will report to school.
They will.
We are being told that the bulk of this supplementary budget is to boost the education sector, and capitation has been mentioned here.
Yeah.
So we should not hear that there is even 1 hour, I didn't say day, 1 hour of delay when it comes to the disbursement of capitation funds to school, because you've come before Parliament and you have said, let's add more money because we need the education sector to be boosted. Abi? So there should be no reason why capitation in the new term 2024 is delayed for no reason. And if it is, honestly speaking, I don't even know where we would be going.
I'm afraid I can't look at these promises and the utterances in isolation.
No, see, they've asked Parliament, not even asked, they've come and informed Parliament that we are going to add 187 billion shillings on a supplementary budget. The bulk of that money is going towards these things in the education sector, over and above the 680 billion shillings that has been allocated to education. And they've said because of 1, 2, 3, we've not been able to pay in the way in which we should have paid over the year. Never mind that the third term money has still not gone out. But they're telling you that this additional money that they need it to sort out a number of things. HELB is in a conundrum. Capitation money needs to come on time. TSC needs to hire teachers. Remember, Nancy Macharia says, now we've hired, and she's begging people to actually apply for the jobs because they can pay. All these things, they're saying this is where the money for the supplementary budget is going to go. Then we shouldn't hear of a delay at any one point for anything.
Remember, the claims and the clamor by Kenya National Union of Teachers and KUPPET hasn't died down either.
They said take those interns and convert them to actual teachers, 40,000 of them, pay them.
Right.
Yeah.
Then let's take a little further. There's higher education. There's the matter of whether or not you will pay fees or not pay fees, whether HELB will be HELB or HELB will be something else. See, all this is the education sector, okay? And right now, as we sit and as we talk, everything that has to do with how it is run is hanging on a balance. There are very many things that were said to have been done which haven't been done. There are very many things which we are supposed to get clarity and understanding on, and once again we haven't. So
let me tell you what they said. The money will also go to agriculture. Okay, 8.25 billion shillings is to go to additional resources to upscale the fertilizer subsidy program. Do we know what additional resources are? We do not. 2.1 billion shillings is for the National Cereals and Produce Board to buy dryers and storage equipment to reduce post-harvest losses. The Cereals Board has been closed for a number of months. Can I ask a question? Did they have dryers before? How were they operating previously? Or are those ones now dead and they need to purchase new ones? These questions, are they ever scrutinized or interrogated? 4 billion shillings, support for coffee farmers through the Cherry Revolving Fund. 1.7 billion shillings to settle debt owed to sugarcane farmers. The boys will get their money. 4.4 billion shillings, National Disaster Management Authority for the Hunger Safety Net Program and Emergency Relief Assistance. And then finally, those who lose. 20.7 billion reduction in allocation for the State Department of Roads. So, those roads that you're hoping will be completed since 19 we don't know if that will happen. 5.8 billion shillings reduction in the allocation of the managed equipment services through which the government leases equipment to use in public hospitals. So that might also have an issue. Are you going to hire radiologists for your machines? Maybe not, because they've reduced the budget. 5 billion shillings is the reduction in the allocation of the Hustler Fund. Well, yay. And then 6.9 billion shillings reduction in allocation to the Housing Development Fund. Those are the losers when it comes to this budget, supplementary budget. They moved money around for those things to happen.
The only thing that is a constant with the supplementary budget is that there's talk of money constant, and that money is going to be made available. Those are things that we can consider to be a reality. But if we are still raising questions about money that was supposed to have been divvied out money that's supposed to have gone to the place it was intended to, and they haven't, then why are we supposed to believe that if you have a supplementary budget, this money is actually going to go exactly where it is you say it will?
No, they should for you. No, Sisi, this thing is very painful. The first they have said, or is it that they want to curry our favor or smoothen the hearts of man? They said the reason why they are moving this money is because they didn't have enough money for education. Education, again, biggest gainer in this supplementary budget. There should be no reason why HELB students who are applying for loans come January should not get money. There's no reason why. Meanwhile, while all of that is happening on the left side, on the right side, IMF is saying, okay, here, 103 billion is what you want. Pewa, take it, have it. Because they've now inked the deal on a loan, signaling the arrival of yet another round of the global lenders' tough austerity measures. The IMF has asked the Ruto government to administer another round of its famous bitter medicine of austerity measures, meaning Kenyans should brace themselves for more difficult economic times ahead. The IMF urged the government to cut down on public spending, ban fuel and food subsidies, and impose higher taxes, which could potentially impact public employment, with the cost of living especially amidst the current unemployment and economic crises. Just when you couldn't
what I
breathe.
find of interest is why it is that IMF are determined to bankroll us for everything that we're doing, because it's a business. We're not related to them, so it cannot be said that they're helping their cousins. So what is it that they think they are going to gain from all this? Because there is a gain. Remember, across the border, our neighbor towards the northeast, okay, the eastern part of this country, Ethiopia that is, are talking about restructuring their Eurobond. Now, there are schools of thought who stipulate that anytime you hear of a government talking about restructuring, they're going into default. Okay? Restructuring and default share a similar WhatsApp group.
Okay.
Now, we haven't gotten there yet. We are being told to tighten our belt, and yet, if you can see, the pain is being delayed. When you're given a loan to pay off another loan, it's not as though the loan has gone down.
No.
And the loan that you're now going to acquire is going to be more expensive for you.
Yeah.
Because so long as the shilling isn't stabilized, and we hear talks of the shilling being stabilized, okay, let's give them a little time, because we're a country where we give time. And see, time that is being given by Monday, let's see whether the shilling has stabilized or not. Okay? It won't have stabilized.
Monday, this one, as
Yes,
in the
it
day
won't have
after, the day after tomorrow.
What I'm trying to say is this.
Yeah.
When you say you are in talks, because the governor of the central bank was quoted in yesterday's paper saying there are talks with the relevant global authorities to do this and the other and move this financial instrument here and take it over there and probably turn around a couple of times so that the shilling can stabilize. Okay, fine. When will those talks come to an end? And when they come to an end, what are we to expect?
Oh my goodness. But the president said when they were talking about this money yesterday, he now said that we have had to make very important decisions, sometimes not very easy or pleasant to take the country forward. We must always make the right decision, he says. It will be difficult, but this will change our country for eternity, he said.
He's right there.
Well, yeah, it will change for eternity. That's true.
The eternity bit is very right about. But if there is implicit in it the connotation that the change will necessarily be positive, then therein lies a question. How sure are we? And then, it's not just everything that's going to go up. We're talking fuel. Fuel goes up. What do you think is going to happen to the cost of electricity?
Oh, that goes up too.
Precisely.
The cost of...
And if that goes up, this cost of food that we're complaining about, you think it's going to go down, it's going to go up? Yes.
You know what I did? Do you remember a couple of months ago when the KNBS released the numbers that Kenyan families spend on an average? And it was looking at the numbers in terms of shillings that those in rural Kenya spend and those who are in urban Kenya spend. But then we looked at urban Kenya spending at about 7,000 shillings on food. We're not talking about shelter, we're not talking about school fees, on food for a month. And that 7,000 shillings. Now, I don't know how you look at it, the devaluing, or rather, because things have become so much more expensive, with the 7,000 shillings today,
buying power, that 7,000 shillings
exactly
now
has reduced by 50%.
Today I was being told a very interesting story by the gentleman who provides me transportation to and from work. His name is Sila Martin. Telling me that they were having a conversation with some of the people who ply our roads and streets, offering taxi services, and they were talking about fuel and the cost of fuel. And he said, there were these discussions. Remember when I first mentioned to you that there are people who actually put gas into their vehicles, and somehow that gas, yes. Okay? Now, I was shocked that some people who are in positions of authority in this sector didn't know this. Okay? And if they did, then they were feigning ignorance. But that's not the discussion. This thing has gone a little further. There is some fuel that is bought in supermarkets. It's intended for keeping food warm. There's even some cooking gadgets that you apply this
right. The cotton wool and the spirit.
Yes.
So the burners.
Yes. But there's many of these things. Now, those things cost around 175 shillings a litre. Because it's fuel, there are people who are now buying that. Yes. You're telling me the maths they're doing. They say if you buy 2 litres, that's 300 bob.
Where do you put it?
In your car.
No way.
No, I'm explaining to you. What people are tinkering with.
My goodness.
Then the gas they're using is also there. Then the top of it with fuel. And told me, see, with 500 shillings, you only get 2 litres of fuel. But with the other one, you end up getting something like 3 litres. For 500, it's not even 3. You'll get 4 litres of fuel. Now, do you think not very long from now, you'll be hearing of vehicles exploding on the road?
You will now.
Yes, you will.
The cheaper option is now going to become the dangerous option.
It's not even cheaper. It's not. You see, the
affordable option.
Yes, this conversation was a conversation about survival, and it was explaining to me the measures that people are going to in order to survive. Okay. Now that is what he told me. What else do you think people are doing out here?
That is unsaid.
Let's raise this question maybe in the last hour and ask people, how are people coping and what are they doing to cope? Because sometimes when you talk about cost of living rising and talk about things being unaffordable, people tend to imagine that particular discussion from their point of view and what they're going through. But that is not the only point of view. There are other people who are going through some serious turmoil. And it would be good to understand what people are doing just to survive in this country.
Absolutely, just to survive.
Yes.
Well, I know. Amos says that yesterday he wasn't able to tune in, and so then today he gets back on board, and it's still tough stuff, man, in terms of what's going on, not being able to pay debt, taking on some more loans. And what does it actually look like? In a couple of days we will have this conversation about what it actually then does mean when things get tighter than tight. So we did see yesterday that there was some communication from the public service in the name of one Mr. Felix Koskei, and he's making certain recommendations for the suspension of certain people within certain offices because the EACC had spoken of possible corruption and charges could be leveled against these individuals. So there was a whole list of people for whose recommendation from ministry to ministry to ministry, and one of those individuals is in this or rather a story like that is in the Standard today, where a judge has ordered the ex-carer manager to forfeit 500 million shillings in property. Now you want to ask yourself how they got that. Let's look at it. A former senior manager at the Kenya Rural Roads Authority, KERA, has lost property worth 500 million shillings acquired through corruption. Justice Esther Maina ordered Margaret Wanja Mudhui and her associates to forfeit the property to the state after finding that she enriched herself through the proceeds of corruption, of crime, and used proxies to register them. She cannot be allowed to benefit from the property she acquired through corruption. If indeed she was capable of purchasing the property, why did she look for mamambogas, vegetable sellers from Githurai, to pose as the purchasers? Do you understand? Among the property Muthui was ordered to forfeit to the state are 11 apartments in Kileleshwa, a townhouse in Collingham Gardens in Nairobi, 24 apartments in Ruaka, a piece of land in Ruaka, a plot in Dagoretti, and 94 million shillings in her accounts. Justice Minor ruled that the Asset Recovery Authority had proved beyond reasonable doubt that Muthui corruptly acquired millions of shillings when she served as Deputy Director of Supply Chain Management at the Roads Authority. The judge found that the ARA had proved that Muthui had stashed old 1,000 shilling notes in her house, and when the government declared a phase out of this particular note in 2019, she had nowhere to hide them and embarked on a massive buying of property to clear the money. In order to conceal her identity, the former Kera manager recruited Esther Wagio Junge, Grace Ndirito, Mercy Nyambura, and Cynthia Nyambura as her proxies and named them as beneficiaries and registered owners of the property. It turns out that they were women who sell vegetables. It is worth noting that some of the listed beneficiaries disowned being owners of the property, since they were mere small-scale traders who were asked to pose as buyers but knew nothing about the source of funds. The judge further declared that any rental income, benefit, and profit occurring from the 11 signature apartments in Kileleshwa owned by Muthui and the 24 Taraji residence apartments in Ruaka are proceeds of crime, and they should be remitted to the state. The long arm of the law stretches quite long, and over time, it would appear. So that's according to them. You forfeit. We're not necessarily going to send you to jail or whatever, but give it up, and that's what that looks like.
This is a good thing. If it is not one of these situations where someone is being picked on because they disagreed with someone, or a light is being shone on someone and yet there are others who have not been mentioned, then it is a good thing. It is a good thing because you can see that not only are the agencies doing what they're supposed to do, but the courts are also saying, folks, we have evidence that is unshakable, and this is what we are saying we are going to do.
Yeah, and so then rather than get into a he didn't or I didn't kind of thing, they just say, you know what, all of the property, not some of it, all of the ones that we've been able to trace back, just hand it over. You took it from the state in the first place, or it should have been for something else. Let's deal with that. We're going to have a corruption conversation today, and really just how biting is this pain of corruption. And these are some of the things. And you talk about 500 million shillings, and what could it actually do if it was channeled in the right direction. All right, I'm going to look at one last story really quickly as we're ticking down towards the last minutes of this hour. And when we look at no feast for Mwangaza yet, they want to now impeach our entire cabinet, and they're saying, okay, we were not able to get to you. What we want to then be able to do is get to your cabinet, because these guys are not letting down. I don't know now if it's an issue of sour grapes or if it's an issue of just making sure that she feels the pinch, but they're saying, you know what, it's a new hurdle. And days after her impeachment motion fell through, she's now facing new hurdles at the Assembly and the High Court. There's a petition that's been filed, and where a number of people are listed as respondents, and they're basically saying that they want to declare impeachment upon her cabinet, and they're saying if they can't get to her, then they will get to these individuals for whom they say are working in her favor and are not doing the work that the executive and this county government then requires of them. So according to them, it somehow will go down. We won't get you, we'll get the people who work around you, and we'll have our day regardless. Should be interesting to see, wouldn't you say?
It will be very interesting.
Okay, coming to the top of the hour, and let's listen to the news, and then we'll come back after that. Kenya's biggest conversation. Don't forget our live streams are up. Spice FM KE on YouTube and also on Facebook. Catch us on X, also on Spice FM KE. It's Kenya's biggest conversation coming round to the top of the hour. Good morning. It's 7:00.
Sugar and spice and everything I
brightens up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm La Obaga. Energy and Petroleum CS Davis Chirchir has come out to clarify details of the controversial government-to-government oil deal, which has since been termed by opposition leader Raila Odinga as nothing but a sham aimed at driving up the cost of fuel while benefiting shadowy state officials. CS Chirchir rubbished Odinga's remarks, going ahead to explain the origin of the deal. He stated that the Kenya Kwanza administration, upon coming into power, put out a tender for government-owned international oil companies to bid for the supply of petroleum on 108 days deferred payment terms and a contract period of 270 days.
The deal was a scam for which we now demand full disclosure and full accountability. It is corrupt and rotten to the core. We find that you are being charged 217 shillings, but the actual price would be 187 shillings. Now, where we are not sure it's how that 30 shillings is being distributed, who is the beneficiary.
National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, on his part, has said that Raila is deceiving himself about the understanding of the agreement, as the ministry is the one that signed it on behalf of the government, calling Raila's claims propaganda.
Mr. Odinga, however, rightfully stated that the Kenya's Ministry of Energy and Petroleum did sign a deal with state-owned petroleum companies in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, Aramco in Saudi Arabia and ADNOC in the United Arab Emirates. Our question, therefore, to Mr. Odinga is what further definition of government to government?
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Energy Committee has summoned businesswoman Nyeri to appear before it and shed light on the 17 billion shillings oil saga, pitting her against the Ministry of Energy. The committee, in a letter to Nyeri, says they want her to furnish them with the country of origin of the consignment, indicators of pricing, the intended destination of the consignment, and any other particulars that she would wish to share. Nyeri, through her lawyer Cliff Mbeta, has confirmed attendance, insisting that the consignment in question belongs to her and that her key witness is the captain of the ship, which has since left the country. The Council of Governors chairperson for the Agriculture Committee, Kenneth Lusaka, has submitted a legislative memorandum on the National Assembly 2022 Sugar Bill to the Senate for consideration. The COG is seeking a review of the bill to incorporate the devolved functions of county governments. The COG argues that the amended bill does not factor in the coordinated action and approach in revitalizing the ailing sugar industry between the national and county governments and other stakeholders for the benefit of the sugarcane farmers. The High Court in Mombasa temporarily stopped the implementation of the regulations to scrap off some shipping lines destination charges by Kenya Maritime Authority. The Kenya Shipping Agents Association sued KMA for issuing a notice to ship agents, shipping lines and cargo consolidators operating at the port of Mombasa that gave 18 guidelines on the charges of importation of cargo into the country. According to KMA, the new guidelines were towards addressing the prevailing cost of destination charges at the port of Mombasa and improving ease of doing business. And finally, the government now requires employers of private security guards to pay them a minimum of 30,000 shillings gross salary each month in order to improve their terms of service and benefits. The Private Security Regulatory Authority Director General Fazul Mohammed has established a minimum wage of 18,994 for security guards, a home allowance of 2,849 and an overtime allowance of 8,156, total gross pay being 30,000 shillings. Fazul said that regardless of whether such a person has been employed by a government institution, agency or body, the terms of employment will be the same. This event comes as government is set to increase salaries for police, prisons and NYS officers by 40%.
I have seen the recommendation that has been made by the task force to enhance the salaries of our policemen, our National Youth Service, and our prison service by 40% over the next 3 years. I think it is a well-considered recommendation. We will now await the workings of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
Folks are out and about this Wednesday did I say Wednesday? It's actually Friday. Friday morning, and moving their way in and out of the city. We're not seeing too much in terms of traffic on the thicker superhighway. Maybe the rain scared everybody away and says come again another day, but let's wait and see how it comes as we get closer to traffic hour this morning. All right, if you're on Uhuru Highway getting out into the CBD, I think you'll be fine, at least for now. Getting closer to traffic hours when we'll start to see red, really. And if you're coming off of James Gishuru, I think you'll be fine, at least for now. Looking at that whole area going out then towards Limuru and other parts, I think we're okay. Traffic is moving. We don't see too much of a hold up anywhere, really. We're keeping an eye on things for now, and let's see how the morning opens up. Help us out and let's talk on Spice FM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room,
7:07 on a Friday
the only
morning
way
on
to start your
November, and here we are. It's raining out and it's a cloudy morning in most parts of the country and in the region, but here we are. Kenya's biggest conversation enters into its second hour this morning, and the conversations will continue regardless of what's going on outside. Okay, thank you for being here with us this morning. As we do, getting in to remind you that Kiwi has said that you know what, you can step up and shine regardless of what is going on, and stepping up and shining means that you can walk into any Kiwi shop, any supermarket this morning where Kiwi is on display and being sold. Just a second. And you actually will be able to find Kiwi, this new logo design, and there's a starburst there with a number, and it's *459*5#, and under the lid when you pop it there's a code, and you will then be able to take that code and you input that when you dial the number. Instant airtime or data, you will win, and then you also get a chance to enter into the draw where 35,000 shillings is being won by 4 people every week. And what does this do? It enables you to pay school fees come January 2024. It goes to school fees, and I think it's fantastic in terms of what's happening, whereby people get a chance to make up for what you've lost or what you're not able to get. So Kiwi gives you a chance to step up and shine. Any supermarket today where it's available, step up and get that instant airtime or data, or then also get a chance to get into the draw where you could win school fees. All right, this morning on Healthy Friday Conversation, we'll be talking about vasectomy, and today, we'll get to know World Vasectomy Day being commemorated. And to join us in that conversation this morning is Wycliffe Otieno, who is a service provider at Mary Stopes, Kenya. Wycliffe, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. That is The Hot Seat. And we'll be talking about a matter this morning that is confusing for a lot of people. is a last resort for a lot of people, and there are very many myths surrounding it. But as we get into it, we're glad that you're here, that you can help us open up that a number of those issues this morning. But we're going to welcome you to today's conversation with a proverb from DR Congo.
Yes, the eye always envies what is forbidden. The eye always envies what is forbidden.
How would you interpret that, Wycliffe? What does that mean to you?
I would just say that the eye would it just means like somebody will do it.
Wycliffe, let me help you.
Yeah.
We want your opinion.
Your opinion. What you
Not
think
what
about?
you think. We think the proverb means. It's how you interpret the proverb. That's it. And that can be anything, so long as it is what you think it means.
Okay. Repeat your question.
Now let me repeat the proverb. Okay. See, the Kenyan education system.
Yes.
I am talking about a proverb. Let's talk about a question.
A question, so there must be right or wrong.
It's not an exam. Okay. The eye always envies what is forbidden.
I think you just want to know what is. People just want to know what is not right.
Yes. They want to know why. You said it's not right. Okay, why is it not right?
Yeah, so you want to know and you're interested in finding out.
Don't do this. Okay, why
should I not
do
know?
it?
Yeah, sure.
See? Isn't it? All right. That's what it does. You're very curious about things, especially if you've been told that you shouldn't be. You still want to know that thing that is hidden from you. You still want to know a lot more about it. It goes even across the board, even for children. They want to know what exactly is going on. All right. World Vasectomy Day. Is that today, Wycliffe?
Yes, today.
It is today.
It's third Friday of every month of November every year.
Every year.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get into it this morning. Vasectomies, we've heard them. We've heard about it over and over again. We've heard about it as the last resort when it comes to contraception. We've heard about it, stop siring children. And here it is where an option comes in whereby the bulk of contraception lies on the shoulders of women. But then here was an intervention that would then have the man involved. Many, many things. Let's start off with basic definitions of vasectomy and what it actually is.
Sure. Vasectomy is just a surgical non-scalpel procedure that is done to just cut the vas difference. That is where the sperms are being transported from the storage place. Then it's cut and then tied, so that this is done to any man that has reached a decision or made a decision that he will not want to impregnate any other woman in future. So the tubes are cut and tied. And this is a permanent method that does not have a reversal.
Really?
Yes.
So then I guess we just jump into the myths there, because we often hear that you can reverse a vasectomy. Is that not the case?
Currently in Kenya, reversing a vasectomy is not very practical. Yes, because once you cut the vas difference, both sides, the right and the left, that would mean you're making a permanent mark, a permanent solution, a permanent way to stop the transportation of sperms from where they are being produced to mix with the semen for ejaculation. So men who undergo vasectomy will still ejaculate, but they will not have the seeds. And they'll only juice with no seeds. Yeah, so they will not be able to impregnate a woman.
Okay.
Yes.
When I read the things that modern medical science can do, it's fascinating. And a hand can be amputated and it can be rejoined. A finger, the same.
Yes.
So you're telling me that this left and right thing that you just mentioned when it's severed, it cannot, that process cannot be undone. You said in Kenya, so I understood that, but are there places where it can be?
I think in other advanced areas, like maybe in US or some other guys that have advanced medical equipments, they're able to reverse it, but
success
rate is not that high. 100%. It's not that high.
But even without it, the success rate is also never 100%, is it?
Without a reversal.
Forget reversal. Yeah. Even without the vasectomy, there is no guarantee that you will have a child simply because you have had sex and you have ejaculated. Even if you time it how, there is no guarantee, is there?
No, there's no guarantee.
Precisely. So when then one has a vasectomy, what essentially are you trying to achieve? Or when one volunteers to have the procedure done on them?
Vasectomy is one of the permanent methods of family planning that we have now for men. And so there back we were taxing our women to be the one to take this burden of family planning. Men were not involved, but with the recent days we've seen men get interest in also helping their women to have to be part of the family planning. So they consider having vasectomy done when they've reached the number of children that they may have to have. Because if you just realize that maybe you wanted 2 or 3 kids and don't want to get any other child in future, they prefer having vasectomy done on them so that they don't get more children. Yes.
Okay. So in the country, when we're looking at then the practice of this, how much do you think folks are aware of this option? I mean, if we think about family planning and we think about the methods that are used for contraception, right? Condoms, very, very popular. The information about them is all over the place. The medication or the barrier methods that are used, a lot of the hormonal contraceptives that are taken by women, those are quite, we know what those are. I mean, and they're in the public, they're very clear what some of those things are. Maybe a bit confusing to people how to use them, but in terms of information about them, the information is quite rampant. Maybe not so much about vasectomies, but how would it be that more information is being shared? And is it something that can become regular when it comes to then contraception?
Yeah, I think more of public education should be done. Like currently, MSK is doing a lot of that, sensitizing the community. In fact, even giving free vasectomy camps. We just had our vasectomy camps done in Nairobi from 14th. It ended just 3 days ago. These free camps are given to clients, and we served over 170 clients in Nairobi. There's one that is ongoing in Bungoma County, courtesy of MSK, and these services are given for free because it's a camp. This is just to help other people back there in the village to just get to know that vasectomy is something that can be done. And these services that we give them for free, we are encouraging men to also just help and get to know much about family planning. That's not just a thing of the women. They can also help to assist the ladies in the issue of family planning. So we are doing a lot of sensitization in the village, and we're also educating men about vasectomy. When they come, we counsel them before we have this procedure done. So we just want to ensure that this man understands what he wants to go through. And so with this knowledge that we give, when you give one client a knowledge, you will go and talk to another client or a friend. And so this is how this message of vasectomy will reach 10 or 5 people in a day. So we believe when we do these outreaches, we are reaching a number. So maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, I know this message will be out here, just like other family planning methods that are taken mostly with our women.
The people who are involved in research, health research, things that CT has done, for example, who often say that even as you get the implementation plan, it is very important for you to understand the why. So that now, even as you go into the future, you are not then going to backtrack and say, we have to go back. So why are men not usually involved in family planning methods and procedures? Why are they not involved, like you had said? What's the reason that you found over time?
I think mostly it's just myth that men maybe just took that family planning is a thing of the women, which is not very true. I think as a family, you need to plan together. You need to plan your family together, and if maybe your spouse is not is having other medical conditions that cannot allow her to undertake the available family planning methods of women. So as a man, this time you come in and then say, then let me have the vasectomy done, because we even the issue of condoms, we know that it's all over, but you'll find some other men will not still accept to use this. So I think just we just need to educate more men for them to help the ladies in family planning issues. So with this a lot of sensitization and a lot of outreach that we do as MSK, I think we are reaching a number of men, and as I've said earlier, we are trusting God that in the next 2 or 3 years vasectomy will be popular just as other family planning methods.
You know, the very concept, and you are right when you say it has been assumed for the longest time that, especially in Kenya, that when you talk about family planning, you talk about women. And if you look at the space that we refer to as the family planning space, that emphasis clearly has focus on women. Because you'll be told about the barrier method, you will be told about, the whole array, from hormonal implants to all manner of things. And it was just women. Now, the effort that has been made to ensure that women get to understand what's available for them, you say there is an outreach to ensure that men understand. But I'm using what has been done with reference to family planning where women are concerned as a reference point. What are the plans to ensure that in trying to get men to embrace family planning, similar effort is being made? Because when you start with a vasectomy is scary. I'm a man, okay? And I'm telling you, it is scary. Someone is telling me that you're going to nip something, and after that, I will probably never be able to have children. I am going to have a problem with that. Now, there are reasons why people would make that choice. Now, when you say they are counseled, walk us through this. How exactly do you reach out to men? Are there special clinics where men are asked to attend? Or is it something that is being done just within the healthcare space? And as you talk about vasectomy, is it only vasectomy, or are there other options that you're talking to men about beyond the condom? So, as they say, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, family planning, as the world says, I think it's a thing of a family. That's why it's called a family planning. It's not only meant for one person in a family to do this. So male involvement in this family planning issue would give a family ease to plan who will be going under this family planning. So I think for men, we are having programs. There are a lot of education that is done in the village, there are even in the facilities, in the media, and we just want to involve men. Even when they go for clinics, we encourage men to go with their spouses, take them there, so that at the clinic you'll be taught a lot of things when you start your journey of pregnancy. So family planning is one of the topics that are being discussed at the clinic. So when our male counterpart go to the clinics with their partners, from the word go, they'll be able to learn about family planning. So by the time this mother has delivered, as a family, they would have decided that who is going for for this family planning method. So during these clinic times, the men are also taught about the vasectomies, the availability of family method that they have. Yeah, so during this time, it's when men are sensitized. The clinics, when you come with the spouse, the men are sensitized. Or if the mother comes alone, she's also given an option of going back to discuss with the spouse about the vasectomy. You just, a mother can come and tell you, I've tried all these other methods. I've tried all these other methods, and I'm not comfortable. But then, as a service provider, you'll be able to tell her, advise her. You can talk to your spouse.
Let me explain why I'm asking the question.
Yes.
Perhaps I wasn't clear. I suspect I wasn't. What are the functions where you'd find both men and women at the same time, comfortably being in?
At the same time?
Yes.
I think most of these camps that we do, we advertise them. So we
social functions that men and women are likely to be in together.
Maybe in our churches. Yeah, maybe like this
weddings,
funerals, such stuff. Yeah, such areas. Yeah, sure.
And I'm going to explain why I'm saying this. Those represent a family. Those are things that unite people. When people go for a wedding, they feel it's an outing that every member of the family can go to. Funeral, the same.
Yeah, sure.
Okay? Church functions or religious function, same. Okay? Now, family planning, you see, the norm has been women go. Okay? We're now saying there's a conversation about men being involved. Women, come with your men. Okay? Now, when it comes to vasectomy, you are saying it was good that men are involved, but the discussion of bring women. I'll explain to you why I am saying this. Again, if you are talking about a situation or a process that you want to initiate that will guarantee this person will not be able, the man will not be able to sire children, the wife or the partner needs to be involved in this from the very beginning. Because if they are not, the same way men would react when they found that their women were on some family planning
method.
Yes, and they had not been involved. Socially, it creates a storm. It's never a simple matter. The why, what, which, and for a man, the question will be asked is, okay, so how many other children do you have elsewhere? So you feel you don't want to anymore, and that will be an issue.
Yeah, sure.
So again, the involvement of women when it comes to men and vasectomy, how have you worked this out? And from what you've seen, how is it progressing?
Yeah, part of our counseling topics is when a man comes, we really want to convince this man to ensure that the spouse has to know about this procedure. Yeah, so you will find most of our clients come with their ladies to the clinics.
How do you guarantee that the woman they've come with is actually their wife?
Actually their wife? Because you want to have it in an open conversation, right? And you're assuming that the person he's come with is his wife. In order to have this conversation, do you ask for a marriage certificate? How do you know?
I think some the people who come for this method, some of them are people who are mature enough, and I think maybe the rate, in Kenya, somebody can tell you that maybe I have 2 or 3 wives. So
we were going there. I'm glad you brought it up.
So among these 3, which one did she come with? But once a client comes, you don't have to question whether this is the true wife or not. But we just counsel. You just need to just tell him the benefit of involving your wife into this. So if it's truly, if this man is true to himself, I think we'll be just able to share with the spouse. So it'll also be very encouraging and very good just to have your spouse when you are undergoing this procedure, because it's a procedure that can be done within 20 to 30 minutes, and then you be released back home through outpatient department. Yeah.
You know, I have to confess that the reason why I am insisting on asking these questions is because I worked in the field of HIV and AIDS.
Yes.
Okay, and one of the conundrums we found ourselves in was when we were dealing with what you call discordant couples, where there's the man is HIV positive or the woman's HIV positive and the partner is not. And then now you're talking about preventative methods. You want to ensure that someone doesn't infect the other. And just the discussions that took place. In fact, let me just mention this from what I observed a while back. When you found a situation where the woman was negative and the man was positive, women tend to be fairly supportive. When it was vice versa, where the woman is the one who was HIV positive and the man was HIV negative, the majority of the men we came across were not that supportive. Now, I'm talking about that discordance in the reaction to such a situation.
Yeah, sure.
In relation to how it is we view children in our society, the birthing of children, what children mean, and how it is a discussion that involves, because when you have a vasectomy, you talk about cessation. Now, no more children thereafter.
Yeah, sure.
Now, that for many people is a very, very serious discussion.
Yeah, so that's why we are saying one of the eligibility criteria is you must have made your mind that maybe if you plan to have two, you will not want to have any other child in future. So one of the eligibility criteria is you must have decided that in future you will not have any child.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we proceed with the procedure, we must also confirm this is really what you mean.
Okay, let's look into some more statistics and questions after we take the break. Let's come back after that. We're having a conversation around vasectomy on World Vasectomy Day with Wycliffe Otieno from Maristopes, and we'll continue with that. And we're getting into the holiday season where quite a number of people are traveling. And the question is, with Emirates, are you planning your next adventure? Remember, it's not just the destination, but it's how you get there. One of the best bits about holidays is the food, isn't it? So wouldn't it be great if you could get a taste of your destination before you even arrive? On Emirates, you can dine on gourmet meals inspired by regional cuisine, and what better way to toast the start of your holiday than with your choice of free-flowing drinks? And of course, you can expect world-class service along every step of your journey from Emirates' award-winning cabin crew. So wherever you decide to fly better with Emirates. You get so much more in Emirates economy. Find out more at www.emirates.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Get ready for the festive season with Tease the Season. Join us at the Junction Mall rooftop on the 8th, 9th and 10th of December at 6 p.m. for a magical Kenyan Christmas experience. The show is directed by Atemi Oyungu and Lisa Oduor Noah and features some of your favorite artists, including Chris Adwar, Kendi Nkonge, and Manasseh Shalom. We also have new voices to introduce to you this year, but that's not all. On Saturday and Sunday from noon, we have a pop-up Christmas market for you to enjoy. Make sure you don't miss out on this incredible event and get your tickets now at ticketsasa.com. Advanced tickets are available for $1,700, while gate tickets are available for $2,200. Tease the Season, a very Kenyan Christmas. Looking for that perfect Christmas gift? Look no further than Tease the Season. This year, we have a pop-up Christmas market at the Junction rooftop on Saturday, December 9th and Sunday, December 10th from noon to 5 p.m. The best part? Entry is absolutely free. There will be plenty of fantastic vendors to help you start your Christmas shopping, as well as fun activities for the kids and performances from your favorite Tease the Season artists all day long. Don't forget, the main show starts at 7 p.m., so be sure to purchase your tickets at ticketsasa.com. So, what are you waiting for? Make your plan and let's dive into the season the Kenyan way. Tease the Season, a very Kenyan Christmas.
All right, still cloudy, partly sunny conditions in Nairobi, 16 degrees with highs of 22. After the rain, the sun will shine. It's mostly sunny at 15 in Nakuru with highs of 24, and we'll see highs of 24 as well in a mostly sunny Nyeri at 17. And looking into a partly sunny Eldoret at 13, highs of 24. And in Mombasa this morning, it is now rainy through and through. Lots of flooding happening in this area at 24 with highs of 30. And into Malindi, cloudy with rain expected later with highs of 30 and lows of 25. Kisumu this morning is partly sunny at 22 with highs of 28, and Kakamega is partly sunny at 19, going to highs of 28 as well. The rain keeps coming down in a cloudy Kampala at 19 with highs of 27, and it's mostly sunny now at 24 in Dar es Salaam. Looking into a sunny Mogadishu at 27 and partly sunny at 13 in Addis Ababa. Johannesburg is cloudy at 17 and Lagos is clear at 25. Kinshasa, still rain continues at 24, going to highs of 32.
Spice up your life.
Now is when we see it coming out considerably more than it was earlier. It's starting to get heavy on Jogo Road, heading out towards the City Stadium roundabout. But we see more traffic in and outbound around the Kamkunji roundabout. That's getting onto Haile Selassie more than anywhere else. Uhuru Highway is busy, and we're looking at traffic on Gong Road this morning as well. Heavy as you go past Adams Arcade out towards the City Mortuary roundabout. And look at what's coming on the Thika Superhighway. Heavy traffic well beyond survey. And it's coming in heavy from Outer Ring and then going slowly through to the city. Kiambu Road has also packed up significantly in the last half hour. And we're seeing traffic also building on Limuru Road. Gigiri Road traffic still continues. That construction is going to slow you down just a tad. And coming out of Kitisuru, traffic continues as well. It's a busy Friday morning. Nothing out of whack just yet. Hopefully doesn't get so. But we'll be here just in case it does. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods and we'll share. Talk to us. Spice Traffic, Spice FM, KE. On X.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
10 minutes left in this conversation as we talk about vasectomies on World Vasectomy Day today. Wycliffe Otieno is a service provider at Maristopes, Kenya, and we've been looking at importance of this, the practice of it. Let's look at some numbers now, Wycliffe. Would you know what's the number of families that have procured vasectomies in Kenya? Do we know what that index looks like?
In Kenya, it's around 360 based on the data that we have.
360.
That is just MSK, but I'm sure other facilities, other organizations also does the vasectomies, because MSK has gone ahead even to train other public service providers, like doctors who work in public facilities. Yeah, the MSK is too generous even to train them on how to do this, so they also do the same. Yeah, but like the last month, the last camp that we had here only in Nairobi, we did over 170 vasectomies. So we believe when the year begins, this number will go high based on now the clients will be having more information. Yeah, so we are seeing a situation where more men will come for these procedures. Yeah.
And what's the cost burden? How much does it cost to have a vasectomy done in Kenya today?
It depends with your facility where you want this done. So, matter of cost in our MSK, I will give a number where people maybe want to just call, and then you consult with the people dealing with the finances. But when it's free, when it's a camp, we offer it for free.
Mhm.
Yeah, during our camps, we offer it for free.
Mm.
For all those who maybe would want to, who would want to ask this vasectomy price and pricing and maybe bookings, I think if they call our 0800 72 005, they will be helped.
Okay.
Yeah. That is the number. When you just, if you want to know about the pricing, you are able to call. If you want to book, you're able to call and they'll be able to help you.
Mhm.
It is 0800 72 00 then 5. Yes.
Okay. Now, even as we look at, obviously, this being a method of contraception, and also looking at these numbers, these are pretty low. If we're going to look at in terms of what people are going to do, the social idea of vasectomy, do you see this as a hindrance, or do you see this as a challenge, a block to more people actually then having them? Because it doesn't seem to be the physical. It looks like, it sounds like it's more of a mind over matter kind of thing. That in my mind, I'm taking something away from manhood, and that would mean that I'm not going to embrace it as often as I would, whereby you say, put on a condom, for example, or, have a woman take a pill or have an injection or put in an intrauterine device. This seems to be mind over matter. And have you found that as a challenge to then being able to convince men that it's an option that you can have or that you can use?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of myths and going on in our villages. So these myths will discourage men from coming to have this procedure done on them. Yeah, so to just help us get rid of this myth, I think the education that I was talking about, some men will think that when you have the vasectomy done, maybe your manhood is interfered with, you will never maybe ejaculate again, you will never have the desire to get intimate, which is not true. When you have the vasectomy done, every other thing remains as it was. Remains usually. If the desires were there, they still remain. Vasectomy does not interfere with any reproductive system of a man. The only thing that it does is you cannot have the sperms. So you still ejaculate as usual. But now the ejaculation, what will be coming out will be having no seeds. So the myth that goes around, like when you have these, that you are going to have your reproductive health removed, or maybe your manhood interfered with, it's not true. So we encourage men just to come. And I think when we have them one-on-one, when we educate them, we'll get to understand more about this. Yes.
The thing that I keep wondering as I'm listening to you, walk us through, when you say you counsel men, is there a set format that you use for counseling, and are there specific areas that you cover when you're counseling the men?
Yeah, sure. During counseling, we do it. We just first take proper medical history, or any other maybe any other surgical history. So just proper history. We want to understand this man well. We want to know if he actually decided to have this procedure done on him. What made him decide? When did he decide? And whether he shared with his spouse. So that we just get the ground to start on, or we just look on things that now we are going to discuss with him. So number one thing that we discuss is we have to ensure that we tell him about the procedure, or what the procedure entails. So we must ensure that he is having good understanding of the procedure. We must ensure that he knows that how long the procedure will take to heal. We must know what is required of him during this process of that you've done the vasectomy. Some other men will think that you have vasectomy done today, tomorrow you will not be able to impregnate. But ideally, we tell them when you have the procedure done today, you will come back for what we call checkup, a return if that is a must and mandatory for all the clients. Just to ensure during this time you will come, we do what we call seminalisis. Seminalisis, we just do sperm analysis just to check if the semen still have the sperms. And when the sperms are they mobile or immobile? We must ensure that the zero sperms before we give you go ahead. Now we tell you cannot you cannot now impregnate a woman. So when we have the vasectomy done, we still encourage you to use other barrier methods like rust condoms, or you can abstain until the 3 months till you come back for checkup. This checkup will be able to now give you direction. Yeah, before we say the vasectomy has failed, we have to do seminalisis and confirm that there are no semen.
How do you know if it has failed? What then are the elements of failure, botched vasectomy, as it were? WHO,
we say when you have 1,000 men undergo vasectomy, it's only 1 or 2 that will report failure. So you just know failure rate is that very low. It's
0.1 or 0.2.
0.2. If it is 1 to 2 in 1,000 men.
But I'm interested to understand what would cause this 0.1 or 0.2 failure, because it is a failure.
Like I said, these tubes, why we normally advise clients to come for checkup. You know, the vast difference from both ends. So it's just like the tube, and then you cut. So when this man has been sexually active, we believe there are some other sperms that may when you do the cutting, the other strains that remained on the other end. So why we tell you to come back for 3 months is this other strain that remained will maybe still able to impregnate a woman. So when you come back in 3 months, we believe that these ones maybe they have died, or they are not motile. They cannot move anymore. They are immobile. So when we come, we do the seminalisis. This will also help us to identify whether you have mobile sperms. Yes.
A friend of mine who has very interesting terminology for what we're discussing. He says there's some animals who didn't leave the Jurassic Park. Some remained.
If he was, let me say, actually active, and then maybe you got intimate maybe 2 days ago, and then you come today, we will only do the cutting, but there's some other.
There's some residue
that remain the other side.
The clinical process is fairly easy to understand.
Yeah.
Do you find that in cases where men have already undergone the process, that there's some who come back with regret and say, I'm sorry, I know I decided, but I think I've changed my mind.
After the procedure is done?
Yes, maybe not immediately, but during whatever duration of time after the procedure. Have you ever had cases of that sort?
Yes, not really, but a few, maybe 1 or 2 would maybe come later, just to inquire, just that inquiry, that if that is possible. But ideally, I think when you give this client proper counseling at the beginning before you do this procedure, they will have proper understanding of what it means by telling them this is a permanent method. So when this month, before he has the procedure done, before he makes that consent, you must ensure that he understands that this procedure is permanent and cannot be reversed.
Now, the permanency or the finality of this procedure, is that also, again, not a barrier to looking at the successes in terms of numbers? Because I don't think we can run away from that especially for a man in his makeup and how men are, because there's so many factors that contribute. The social matters are there. We can't run away from them. The social impact, the ego impact, all of that comes into play. And now we are talking about a procedure that bears finality. It has permanency attached to it, and that you cannot then come back tomorrow and say, well, you know what, let me do something else. Whereas if we look at the contraceptive forms that are present for women, you can get on the pill this month and you can get off next month. You can inject and it will be there for 3 months, and then thereafter you can then clean your system. You can have an intrauterine device that you can remove at any time. The only thing that would be final for a woman would be tubal ligation or hysterectomy. You see? But there are very many other procedures or processes or options that are not final. So you have a vast array to choose from. And that could be, again, that because of this community idea that family planning rested on women, perhaps that's why there are so many options. So do you see a situation whereby if we start to say that it is a shared responsibility, then we will start to see that there will be then the production or the research into other methods, that could be used besides the condom for men. So right now, because essentially that's what we're looking at, isn't it? It's the withdrawal method, or it's condoms, or it's a vasectomy for men. I don't know that there is anything else beyond sterilization, for example. But that's pretty,
Abstinence.
Or abstinence. Well, there's another one. There's abstinence. But I bet you my bottom dollar that if you by the end of the day took a poll and said how many people wanted them to remain abstinent, or wanted to abstain, in terms of an option for that. But could it not be that because of the attention that has been placed on women for family planning, that is why we do not have so many options for men? But the finality or the permanency of a vasectomy could be that thing that stops many men from taking it as an option. What do you think about that? Because it's something you really have to think about. You're not going to be able to change your mind. You can't say, yes, we've decided, and then we come back tomorrow and say, okay, no, I'm done with this thing. No, and it's almost unfair to
quickly consider, for instance, also, as an African man, how do African men, what is part of the identity of an African man? It's his ability to have children.
Sure.
Yes. So much as this is a process that some would desire and it is useful, but essentially, if you can no longer have children, psychological, that's why I asked about people coming back and saying, something happens to your identity. You have to give it a rethink. You have to give it a reboot. But if I look at the way Africans function and think and the role that children play in our lives, I may not want a child now. 3 years down the line, I may think, no, I actually want a child. Then what happens then? And the option was, as you say, removed permanently. What this brings me to is the question of, at what age do you allow people to be able to even consider a vasectomy?
Vasectomy, I think WHO, when you get to an age of 18 and even 20 and above.
18?
20, but we normally cancel
18?
I'm saying that is
WHO?
From 18, yeah, that is an adult, right?
Yes.
So when adult makes a decision, and you come for vasectomy, we need to cancel you. But normally we don't provide vasectomy to somebody who is 18. It's not some of the clients.
This one, if it's WHO, this one they've got this one wrong.
Some of the clients, we don't give them vasectomy the same day when they come, because we really want to know this is really what they want. Because some people will come that they don't want any child, but they have no child.
Do you have 18-year-olds who come in and say they want a vasectomy done? I mean, we're talking about a boy who cannot spell vasectomy.
We even see 20-year-old come to these camps, and they tell you he doesn't want to have a child. So we have to cancel them and recancel. So some of them will have to take them back home, and then they come again the next day. They've decided, you've checked all the eligibility criteria. You've talked to this guy, you've talked to any other person, maybe to counsel them. So we have counselors there. When we find such a young age, we give them to our counselors first before our vasectomy is done. We must ensure that he is of sound mind when making this decision. So 20-year-old man comes, we first talk to him, we ensure that we give this knowledge of permanency, that this method is a permanent method. You will not have to reverse it. It's not very possible. So when you decide to have this done, just know this will not be reversed. So before we have this done to this young man, we must have proper counseling.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, I ask this question is because those who study the brain and who study the development and the process of rewiring of the human brain from childhood and maturity to adulthood, it's 25. That's the age where your brain now, as you say in Kiswahili,
ready to start.
Yes, but even then, that's the age when people are thinking of getting married. Not necessarily getting, but thinking seriously.
Sure.
And that's when they're thinking, and most people think of marriage and children. They don't think of marriage for companionship only. I'm talking about an African setting. So if that option, for whatever reason, whatever experience someone has gone through, they feel at the age of 25, 26, even up to 30, they want to have children, they may understand it very well.
Yeah, sure.
But God permitting, there are very many years ahead of them. What happens when they change their mind? Because many will change their minds. Whatever may be determining my decision now, I mean, I'm probably being unfair because I'm looking at the number of times I've changed my mind on many things. And where at some phases, I was very definite and definitive, this is it. And then
nobody could have convinced you otherwise.
No, and you weren't going to convince them. A few years down the line, I changed my mind very simply. Now, on something as fundamental as this, I understand the counsel and it is good. And I'm glad that you do not perform the vasectomy just simply because someone has come there. But do you advise them to come back after 5 years when they're perhaps a little older and they've seen a few more things?
Can you just tell them to go and come back? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we always tell, when we just realize that you maybe you made this decision when there's something that pushed you to make the decision, or there was some pressure, or you are not even very sure what you really wanted, we don't go ahead. But in case that we have this vasectomy done, we must ensure that this client has good understanding of the vasectomy and the whole process and what it means to have it done on you. Yeah, so that you just tell this client, this method that you've chosen is a permanent method and there is no way you can reverse it. And this will mean you will not have children unless you want to adopt a child. That will be the only way you have to get these children.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the work that Marry Stops is doing in Kenya in terms of, this kind of awareness building in rural communities, in urban, around the country essentially, to spread information about this and other things.
Yeah, MSK is doing a lot of sensitization. In fact, there are even staffs of MSK in public facilities just to teach the families, both men and women, on family planning, and several outreaches, several camps that are done all over in almost every county in Kenya. In fact, every quarter they do these camps, both for both family planning for ladies and men. So, like in Nairobi, when we had the week for BTL, the following month was for vasectomy. So MSK is doing a lot of sensitization and actually helping our friends, our mothers and sisters, brothers outside here to get this knowledge of family planning and even avail these services next to them. Yeah, so we have several clinics along in every country. In most of the country, the county, we have clinics where you can just walk and have your family planning without getting any other complications. We also have outreaches that are done in public facilities, where you find MSK has sent their staffs there just to assist, just to give knowledge of family planning to public facility staffs, they're also trained by MSK staffs. So MSK is doing a lot of work in supporting family planning. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, looking into the future whereby you can then say what would be the things that you would encourage people to do in terms of coming out to find out information about what they need health-wise and commemorating this World Vasectomy Day?
I think just taking time to walk to the facility, walk to any near facility, just to get to know about vasectomy, just to get to know more about family planning is a good thing, rather than just sitting there and maybe having myths that are coming from people that will really discourage you, will not give you
the information,
that you may need. But when you get a service provider, will be able to explain to you very clearly what it means to have this family planning, this vasectomy, and even this BTL. Done.
Thank you very much, Wycliffe, for joining us this morning. Wycliffe is the service provider at Mary Stopes Kenya. Asante sana.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lea Obaga. 2 foreigners have been arrested and explosives used for gold exploration with a street value of 9 million shillings seized along the border of Kenya and Tanzania. Migori County Police Commander Francis Ngule said the suspects and the explosives were arrested and nabbed respectively following a tip-off by members of the public. Ngule said the suspects were transporting the explosives to an unknown destination using a pro box when the police netted them. At least 3.2 million people die prematurely across the globe as a result of household air pollution. Health stakeholders say in Kenya, 23,000 people die annually from household air pollution. They, however, say that to deal with this, they've scaled up awareness on the need to embrace clean energy, which has been hampered by the high cost of safe alternatives.
We need to do more than just saying this is good for you, it's good for your health. We know, people know that the causes of some of the problems they have health-wise comes from the smoke from their cooking apparatus, but they are fixated to it because it's the only available means of preparing food or keeping themselves warm.
We are working with the Ministry of Health onto the community health promoters, so we want to measure the pollutants which are in each and every household in which these CHPs are working. The moment we shall be able to get that, we can now be able to inform that this particular region or these particular houses have these particular pollutants, so in that way we can direct prevention or intervention measures towards that.
The Kenya Defence Forces has commenced the reconstruction of schools vandalized by bandits in Baringo South constituency. While some of the schools have been able to operate intermittently, Rukus, Ramacha, Katilomwa and Gelecha have remained closed since the conflicts erupted in 2005. With a designated budget of 100 million shillings, the project aims to restore normalcy to the affected institutions while providing a safe learning environment for students. Leaders from Nyeri County have continued to send messages of condolence to the relatives and friends of former Mugirango West MP Benson Kegoro, who died yesterday. The latest to mourn his colleague is Nyamira County Governor Amos Nyaribo, who has described his death as a great blow to the entire nation. At the same time, Busamaro Ward Representative Charles Keganda said the late Kegoro was a respectable leader who encouraged people to interact peacefully.
Namkumbuka kuwa alikuwa mzee wa heshima, mzee wa ushauri wa juu, mzee mwenye alikuwa na upendo na alikuwa akituhimiza kama jamii kwamba tuwe na umoja na zaidi ya yote tuwe na upendo.
Kakamega County Police Commander Joseph Kigan has called on Butere and Mumias residents who lost their livestock to report to the police station. Kigan said that there are some livestock that were found, but the owners are yet to claim them.
Out of the 13 cows that we recovered, na mbuzi 7, moja ya mbuzi imetambuliwa na mwananchi na 6 ng'ombe 6 zikawa zimetambuliwa na zingine bado hatujapata wananchi wakikuja kutambua hizo ng'ombe. So ningeomba wananchi wakuje watambue hiyo ng'ombe ili wachukue ng'ombe zao, alafu hatua ichukuliwe kwa wale ambao walitekeleza hiyo uhalifu. Out of the 13
The government now requires employers of private security guards to pay them a minimum of 30,000 shillings gross salary each month in order to improve their terms of service and benefits. The Private Security Regulatory Authority Director General Fazul Mohammed has established a minimum wage of 18,994 for security guards, a home allowance of 2,849 and an overtime allowance of 8,156, total gross pay being 30,000. Fazul said that regardless of whether such a person has been employed by a government institution, agency or body, the terms of employment will be the same. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
Traffic on Vibes Radio.
Yeah, manze. It's all about traffic, manze.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, so what happens at a few minutes after 8 o'clock is that we'll see some movement on the Thika Superhighway. That started early and it still continues for now because it's heavy as you come towards Pangani at the underpass. Very, very heavy traffic, bumper to bumper all the way through. And on Kiambu Road as well, we're looking at quite a number of lanes now. Folks on Spice FM KE on X are telling us that it is about 4 lanes now and all trying to snake their way through towards Muthaiga Square. On Gong Road, it's also pretty busy. We're looking at also traffic coming through towards ABC Place on Waiaki Way. It's spilling over from James Gishuru, so that looks pretty busy still. And then this whole area coming in from Ruaka onto Limuru Road is also doing that thing this morning. Quite a number of flooded areas, so you want to be careful as you approach that so that we don't get stuck. Uhuru Highway is pretty busy. And then let's look at Langata Road. It's coming in and go towards Raila Odinga Way with some of that traffic, but then thereafter I think we'll be all right. We're in traffic hour proper now. Let's see what happens when it goes through a couple of hours into it. And we'll be here. Talk to us. Spice FM Traffic, Spice FM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
8
day.
I don't know how we do this. 7 after 7, 8 after 8. Let's see if we can get it at 9 after 9 coming into the next hour. We're into the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning and getting into conversations about saving. In the light of what's going on, the question is what to save. But we're getting into that conversation in a bit when we look at saving culture and investments for middle income earners. We'll get into that shortly, but you can step up and shine, and you can do that with Kiwi this morning. Quality shoe polish renews leather, and it's been around forever. So how can you step up and shine with Kiwi? And you can do that by walking into a supermarket this morning where you'll find Kiwi on display. Remember, it's the new logo, and we're looking at picking that up, and then you're going to go pick up your phone, and you look at the starburst here, and it'll have some vital information for you. *459 *5 hash is what you're going to dial on your phone, and then you'll input information. Where do you find this information? When you pop the lid, you'll find it under the lid. When you pop the lid of your Kiwi tin, you'll find it under the lid, and you follow those instructions when you dial that number. Okay, then something magical happens. You win data, or you win airtime, and it's automatic. And then you get an opportunity to then enter into a draw. The draw then will see 4 people every week win 35,000 shillings that goes towards school fees come January 2024. So that school fees can then go to a school of your choice. You can actually go and buy Kiwi and see if you can win for somebody else. You can do it for your own family members. You can do it for yourself. And remember what we were told, from primary all the way to university, school fees is what we're looking at here. And Kiwi is giving you a fantastic opportunity to step up and shine. We're looking at a conversation where we talk about saving and investment, building a culture amongst middle income earners into the third hour this morning. And Muthoni Muo is the portfolio manager at CIC Asset Management, and she's here to talk to us about that today. Good morning, Muthoni.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
You are in the hot seat.
Clearly.
Yes. And even before they tell you welcome, they're going to ask you, excuse me, save what with what? That's the question already. And before we, turn up the embers on that seat, let's welcome you. At least, with a proverb. Yeah, let's start out that way. Never know what's going to come thereafter.
Sure.
And CT is going to welcome you with today's proverb.
All right.
This is the final proverb from the country of DRC.
Wow, okay.
Yes, the whole of this week our proverbs have been from DRC. Next week we move to Namibia.
Interesting.
The eye always envies what is forbidden. Mm-hmm. That is what the proverb for today is.
Sounds closer to you want what you cannot get.
Oh, well, that's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah, because the eye is always looking for what is forbidden. So it sounds kind of like that.
You always want what you cannot get.
But yeah.
It's not fair, Abby.
I know, right? But that sounds something
And
like
who determines that you can't get it? Is it you, forces beyond?
Or the person who has it?
Yes, and what is it? Yes. And if they have it, can you not get it elsewhere?
Isn't it? Well, maybe that particular one thing.
But you're limiting your vision if it's just that particular one.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
Isn't it?
Yes.
Well, that one thing that we all want is maybe a nest egg or something that you're going to put away for future. And I think, who says you can't have it, right, Muthoni?
Yeah.
So we're having a conversation about creating a savings culture, an investment culture for middle income earners today. So let's start. Who is a middle income earner? What do you earn to be classified in Kenya today as a middle income earner?
So Kenya National Bureau of Statistics estimates or puts that someone who earns between about 48,000 to about 180,000, that would be considered a middle income earner.
48 to 180?
Yeah,
okay.
Thereabout.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What is middle about it?
I think because
middle of what?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me give you context. Okay. So we do have those, the CEOs of big companies who earn in the millions, more than even 5 million. And then there are those people who, in fact, there's a conversation where security guards should be earning around 30,000 Kenya shillings.
Very good. That's a wonderful thing.
Yes. So you can, and then the vast majority of many Kenyans would probably be around, 30 or less.
Yes.
So the middle now becomes, from around 48 to, let's say, 50 to 150, 180. Okay. That's where it becomes the middle.
Okay.
It is true. And yet, that same Kenya National Bureau of Statistics tells you that if you're looking at a simple mwananchi, as we like calling him in this country, who falls into the category of what you call a universal basic income, consumes something like around 6,000 shillings a month.
Yeah.
The other is 6,000. Now, if that's at the lower end completely, and then you see in the middle is around 48. And this has been there for some time.
Yeah.
The presumption is that this amount of money could get you certain things with a certain guarantee. See, why you hear me querying it? I always query it because if the statistics states that that is the middle class and that's a constant, what about other factors that contribute to it that are not constant?
Right. So one, it is not a constant. It changes as the economy grows or detracts. So it changes every time. It's just that's what the average has been over the recent past, like you have mentioned. Yeah. So other factors I think they just want to say income, the average income or the average middle income, where would they be? Let's say 50 to 150. A poor could be, from negative to, below that. Yeah.
But I'll take this discussion further. If I look at how it is we do the indices and we deal with some of the ways of calculating this, we are talking about matrices that we've been introduced to, we've studied. And it assumes that that money is what you use for every other service that you acquire. That's how it's measured.
Correct.
But that is not true about us Africans in Kenya. We don't quite survive that way. Not quite.
Yeah. True. You actually do bring an interesting view into that because they just largely just look at salary per se.
Yes, exactly.
But people have other sources of income that
very
are not
many
salary.
other sources of income, and even our food is not always bought directly from shops as people assume.
Exactly. And especially from the rural area, I may not have a high salary,
yes,
but I'm not poor because I'm able to feed myself.
Now, you've understood what I'm saying perfectly.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at this amount, if we're talking about then being able to put something away and we're talking about the source of where that comes from, then the assumption is that there is a salary. That you're working for somebody, isn't it?
Exactly.
So now this amount that we're looking at, I'm going to stay on this 48 to 180 as reference. Is this after tax? Because it's a buzzword nowadays in this economy. You have to look at everything after everything has been taken to Caesar and what Caesar has left you with. Are we now talking about what you're able to save or invest with while still being able to stay alive after, the pound of flesh then has been taken? Is that what we're looking at?
No. So Caesar has to take what is his. So Kerry will come and deduct all the deductions from that. So the figures we talk about are gross.
So now when we take away what Caesar has taken, this 48 to 180 changes significantly, does it not?
It does.
Okay, so we're looking at least 30%. At least 30% of this figure then has changed. If it was 48,000, we are looking at minus 16. Is it not?
Yeah.
Yes. So now the person who started with 48,000 now has 32,000.
Yep.
The person who started with 180,000 now has 120. So now we're looking at 32,000 shillings to 120,000 shillings.
Exactly.
Muthoni, you're asking us to then be able to pay for shelter if it is not your own. Even if it were your own, there are certain maintenance that you have to take care of every now and then. And we look at the same KNBS who gave us some statistics just the other day, which interestingly enough we spoke about this morning, where they say the person who is living on an average will spend 7,000 shillings feeding themselves and their families of 5, all right, on average.
Yep.
They will also then spend 5,000 shillings for this shelter, whatever it is. Okay, so if the person is earning 32,000 shillings, now we've taken 12 away.
Yeah.
Okay, you now have 20. And then they will spend another 6,000 shillings if they have children on school fees per month. We now have 14. They will now spend an average of 2,500 to 4,000 shillings on transport. Okay, we had how much? 12 left.
Yep.
And we've taken now another 4,500. So now we have 7,500 shillings left.
Yep.
And then if we look at other things that they need to do, beauty, it was now termed as miscellaneous things, upkeep, etc., etc. 3,000 shillings. This is not me. This is KNBS. who has said this. So now from that 7,000 shillings, we've moved 3,000. And it's not 3,000 for Ndu who is speaking, or Mudhoni, or Charles. It is the family, all of these people who are involved in this.
Yep.
So now from that 7,000 shillings, we have taken another 3,000 shillings. We have 4,000 shillings left. This is assuming that nobody will get sick, anything will happen to them. The same KNBS also does tell us that 5,000 shillings on average is used for healthcare. We now at -1. So, Mudhoni, please tell us, where is saving and investment coming
in?
This is the person at the lower end of the spectrum, which you've also told us is what the majority of people in Kenya today are earning.
Yeah, that's a difficult question, right? But Kenyans are resilient. Kenyans are really resilient, and they're able to squeeze themselves if they have to achieve the goals that they need to. So I know Kenyans, if investment is your goal, you will squeeze yourself to at least put something aside. And usually a good example is if you look at teachers, I mean, their salaries are not the highest, even police are not the highest, but they're able to educate their children all the way to university. So it just shows is if you're able to just say, as a Kenyan, yes, my situation is not the best. I'm not earning a lot of money, but I can control the little that I earn so that I can be able to put something aside to be able to achieve my financial goals. And that's the only way you can achieve it, honestly speaking. Yeah, I know there's this frequent adage that they said it's not what you earn, it's what you do with what you earn that will help you achieve any goal, actually, that you would have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we do this? And I think that's the question here.
Right.
So now let's start with the 32,000. Because again, we're dealing with taxes gone. How then do you, with what you have, get into a culture where you can save and or invest?
All right. So there's a quick Kiswahili saying, so I'll come to Kenya. Haba na haba hujaza kibaba. Which means, slowly you can be able to achieve your goals. So if you're able to only save 500 this month, put it aside. If you're able to save 4,000 this month, put it aside. And eventually you'll be able to put up a good sum of money that will be able to help you to start your savings and investments plan. Yeah.
Does that mean you're taking something away from something else?
You'd have to do that. And that's why you have to prioritize. You have to say, what do I want to do? Say, for instance, if I want to buy a plot, it's 50,000 Kenya shillings, and I'm taking home 32. So obviously I cannot buy it in a month. But I can say it will take me 50 months to buy it. Or it will take me 10 months to buy it. So that means I have to put aside 5,000 every month to be able to accumulate to the 50,000 to buy that plot or whatever it is. So I think the key message here is the mindset. When you choose to do something, you're able to, change things around, sacrifice that, food or lunch that you needed, go to a smaller house if you have to be able to achieve the dreams and the goals that you have. Yeah. Is it easy? No. Yeah, it's not easy, but you have to be focused in what you want to do. Yeah.
So that's an investment or saving for yourself. Oftentimes when you then think about investments, you're looking at where you now will be able to earn profits, whether in the midterm or in the long term. And what are some of those things that Kenyans, people, can start to think about now? Because look, the situation does look pretty dim, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And then you say in the midst of this, a tree can grow, something can come out of it. What is that?
All right. So you're asking, very good question. So you're asking what can people do to be able to, get income or to substitute what they're currently getting. Thereabout, yeah. So there are many investment options that are there for both low income and middle income earners in Kenya. So I don't get to the details now. I think we'll get a chance to do that. But just to give a hint, money market funds are usually the best to be able to do this. So it's just an avenue where you're able to come, put in your money on a regular basis, and then every month you're actually able to earn a little interest. And so this begins to, with time, it begins to even help you substitute with the monthly costs that you have.
Let me ask you a question that I always ask whenever we're talking about a concept that is actually structured to be useful and to help someone in the immediacy term, middle term, and even long term.
Yeah.
How have efforts or have adequate efforts been made to ensure that this idea is actually taught in schools? You see, our influences when we grow up are not influences in adulthood. They begin in our childhood.
True.
The way we treat people, the way we look at the world, the way we relate to people, all those things.
Yeah.
Now, if we think something is of great importance, don't we think that this is something people should be introduced to in childhood? So you grow up understanding that so that for you it is normal.
Yeah.
I look at, we always have these discussions about economies and borrowing and what have you. What is often left out in the conversation is countries that have borrowed in terms of the percentage of the GDP that have gone in excess of the 100 percentile. Usually they borrow from their own institution. It's domestic borrowing in their currency. So there is no risk of it going up and down.
There's no currency fluctuation.
Yeah, but two, the citizens have a culture of saving. So the money is there to be borrowed. It actually exists.
Yeah.
Because people who have a culture of saving don't go around spending it, they save it. Japan being a perfect example of such a country. So now, if we think it is important and it isn't taught or it isn't introduced as something that children should get to learn as they learn English, Kiswahili, physics, chemistry, biology, then how important is it really?
It really is important. You bring out a good point. And I think this is something even the Ministry of Education should be able to incorporate from as low as primary school. But because we
why do you want to begin with primary school?
At least primary you can be able to discuss and talk. Nursery you're still learning your vowels.
That's the point.
Are you able to say money?
That's the point. The very tools you use to introduce this child into the world that they're going to live in, that is it.
Okay.
Yes. So that child has a brain. That brain functions. They know what to do, what not to do. They know that they're hungry. They know how to eat. They know how to play. They can learn.
If I can piggyback on that, just, even as you come to answer that, look at anything that happened in the world that succeeded, anything. And whether you want to call it good or bad. And I think back when you look at the system of spies, for example, and how they wanted to make sure that people grew up in a way of being. They started from when the child was able to utter a word or a sound. And that they inculcated them into that state of being from when they were children. And it doesn't really matter what it was. If you look at the systems of Reaganomics in the US, whereby they wanted to make sure that everybody grew up in this capitalistic way of doing things, it was kids at the age of 3 or 4 who were selling lemonade at 5 cents a pop on the side of the road during the summer holidays. And they grew up in that knowledge where they knew, I'm going to sell it for 5 cents and I'm going to keep 2 cents aside and spend the 3 cents to then be able to get something else. Children.
So by the time my child is 18,
by the time the child is 18, they can actually say, well, you know what, I want to be emancipated, which became a thing. I want to be emancipated. And then because of those things that I did when I was younger and my parents encouraged it and the system around me too encouraged it, the likelihood of me running away in my mind from that kind of conditioning then is very slim. But here we are asking adults who are formed in their ways over at least 18, 20, 25 years to say, well, you know what you need to do now is you need to start saving. And this is something that
it's foreign to them.
Absolutely.
Alien.
Yeah.
Alien.
So you are right. You should start as early as possible. But and like I said, something Ministry of Education should inculcate. However, because we do not have any influence over the Ministry of Education, we do not have any influence over the government policies. Then in terms of direct, we're not the ones who can make the policy, but we can, we cannot make the policy, but we can push them to, yes, we can influence them. But the point I was going to make is then this is what becomes important. This session that we're having here today, to be able to educate people, to know it doesn't matter whether you grew up not knowing this, learn its importance now. You can't change the past, but you can change the future.
Is it possible to do that? And this is a thing that oftentimes you say, well, I read something this morning and it was, those inspirational things. I say, late bloomers are still bloomers. And it's never too late because some of the world's most successful people then stepped onto the doors of success well after the age of 50 or 55. And then it's possible to do.
Yeah, like KFC at 65.
Such things. So what we're telling people now is like, you know what? You've eaten into the thing. There's even nothing left. You're living from hand to mouth. And that's the thing that we're living from hand to mouth. Is it possible to take something from the hand before it gets to the mouth and put it under the mattress kind of thing? And can you actually flip the script and do something different? I saw a comment here when we're saying, all right, 50,000 shillings that you earn and 80% of it goes towards rent. What on earth is Muthoni asking me to save? How would you deal with that situation?
Yeah. So it's just, I mean, you've actually captured it quite well. And we say, it's never too late. It's never too late. If, KFC was created when the guy was 65 years old, doesn't matter whether you were not taught how to save when you were young, you can change from now. And then it's to just be cognizant of the current position you are in. So know thyself. If you're in a lot of debt, then you have to be aware and say, I have to plan and get out of this excessive debt that I have. And if I have to get into debt, it needs to be good debt that is able to bring back money. Because what we're trying to do is be financially independent. In the end, that's what we're looking at, to be financially independent. And what does this mean? Is that I'm able to generate income from the investments that I have that could be able to cover the expenses that I have. And so that's why it's never too late. You can say, fine, this, depending on the journey or where you are, it could take you 10 years, could take you 10 months, but you just have to start. You have to decide financial independence, financial wellness, that's my aim, and I'm going to achieve it, and this is what I'm going to do to be able to achieve it. Go look for the information. It is out there. We're in an information age. So you just, take out your phone, any device, Google, how can I make money, or wealth advisors. And institutions such as ours, CIC Asset Management, we have a vast amount of wealth advisors who are able to sit with you. And it doesn't matter whether you have 5,000 or 50 million in your account. We are able to sit with you and tell you what you want to achieve and take you there to be able to get out of this debt trap and rat race that we are in, where you're not able to feed yourself, yet you have a salary. Yeah. So that's what we do. Have a sit down, read. Don't if you don't know, read on it. If you don't know, ask. And come, we have a wealth of information at our place to be able to help you to meet your needs.
You make it almost sound like it's plug and play. Find the research, do the thing, and the results will come out of it. Is that what we're saying? It's like a recipe. If you put all the ingredients together, put it in the oven, a cake is going to pop out at the end of 50 minutes, whatever. It sounds easier said than done.
It's definitely sounds easier said than done. But that's why you seek help. If you're ill and you stay at home and you don't seek any help, you will continue getting ill, and God forbid you pass on. But if you're ill and you say, I need to get out of this illness, you will seek help. So you'll either go to your dispensary, your clinic, your doctor, your hospital, but you will seek help. So it's the same thing here. If you're ill financially, then you go out, seek out wealth advisors, seek out financial advisors who'll be able to assist you. And that's what we are here for. So it's not plug and play, but it is structured for you. So everyone's experience will be different.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's 8:30. Let's take a break and come back and look at then, okay, so exactly how, some of the nitty-gritty, get as granular as possible, because oftentimes it's the examples that we're looking for to be able to get it done. Muthoni Moore is the portfolio manager at CIC Asset Management, and we're looking at savings, creating a savings and investment culture for middle income earners. Well, whether you're earning or little or not, you always think about a holiday, don't you? And we all love a holiday, but with a long flight ahead, you'll need plenty to keep you entertained. Once you see the endless entertainment on board at Emirates, you might wish your flight was just a little bit longer. Imagine this: you get on board, you sit back, you relax, and choose from up to 5,000 channels. Yep, you heard that right. It could be the latest blockbuster out of Hollywood, a comedy box set that even live sports, and you can watch it all on the biggest screens in the sky. Or if music is your thing, create your own playlist from your favorite artists or good old classics. You get so much more in Emirates economy. Find out more on www.emirates.com.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies.
whether luring or otherwise. And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Get ready for the festive season with Tease the Season. Join us at the Junction Mall rooftop on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of December at 6 p.m. for a magical Kenyan Christmas experience. The show is directed by Atemi Oyungu and Lisa Oduor Noah and features some of your favorite artists, including Chris Adwar, Kendi Nkonge, and Manasseh Shalom. We also have new voices to introduce to you this year, but that's not all. On Saturday and Sunday from noon, we have a pop-up Christmas market for you to enjoy. Make sure you don't miss out on this incredible event and get your tickets now at ticketsasa.com. Advanced tickets are available for 1,700, while gate tickets are available for 2,200. Tease the season, a very Kenyan Christmas.
All right, a bit of sunshine this morning in Nairobi at 16, highs of 22, and we'll see lows of 15. Partly sunny at 17 in Nakuru with highs of 24, and we'll see highs of 24 as well in a partly sunny Nyeri at 17. It's sunny at 17 in Eldoret with highs of 25, and we're looking at now rain, still heavy at 26 in Mombasa with highs of 30, and partly sunny conditions now in Malindi at 25. Going to highs of 30. In Kisumu, the sun is up at 24, highs of 28, while Kakamega is sunny as well with highs of 28 and lows of 15. Out in Kampala, it's partly sunny at 21, and Dar es Salaam is cloudy at 25. Looking into a sunny Mogadishu at 28, it's mostly sunny at 16 in Addis Ababa, mostly cloudy at 20 in Johannesburg, and Lagos is clear at 25. The rain showers continue in Kinshasa at 25, going to highs of 32 and lows of 24.
Spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
All right, Aerodrome heading towards Huru Highway, just at that upper hill junction. That's pretty busy, and it's going to snake you back a little bit. And also on Lusaka Road this morning, everybody trying to connect then at the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. That all is looking pretty sticky right about now. Let's take a look at the Thika Superhighway, which still continues to give quite a lot in terms of traffic there. And we're seeing it coming in from Survey, where your service lanes come to an end. So you're going to have to be patient as you then get to that junction from Murang'a Road and then going to Wangari Maathai, and then you'll be fine as you split off. Limuru Road is busy. Kiambu Road is even busier. And as we get into the city coming in from Westlands, we're seeing quite some movement as well. So it's a busy morning, not as crazy as it's been this week, but let's keep our wits about and make sure that we can keep things moving. We'll talk on Spice FM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
9 o'clock. We are talking about saving investment for middle income earners specifically this morning. Mudhani Moore is our guest and trying to give us a skinny on not being so skinny when it comes to income. Titi?
The concept of saving, if you simply label it saving, communicates putting money aside. Full stop. But that's really not what saving is about. It's a lot more than just that. So how do you communicate that concept in a way that an ordinary Mwananchi Kenyan can understand? Now, most Kenyans have understood saving to mean joining a SACCO. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because with the SACCO, apart from just the money being there, after a while you can borrow, and you can borrow certain amounts. And there are many people who've actually done a great deal with their SACCOs. Whether it's paying fees, whether it's building a house. They could actually tell you that if it wasn't for the SACCO, whatever developments I've made in my life, physical developments, financial decisions, these have been because of the SACCO. So now, how do you get then to communicate beyond the SACCO? They've understood the SACCO. Is there more to the SACCO? Because a SACCO, you save, you can borrow 4-3 times more. There are other forms of saving that may offer you something similar, but most people are not aware that it exists. But in addition to that, they'll offer you something that a SACCO can't. They offer you insurance.
All right.
So beyond just the benefits of the money and your ability to borrow against whatever you have, there's something else that in the event that this untoward thing happens to you, they're telling you, we'll look after this and this and this and this and this. How do you communicate this?
All right, thank you, Siti. That's a wonderful question. And I think I'll emphasize on the word SACCO and its importance, because SACCO is savings and credits. In other terms, it could be chama, or it could be investment club. So it's just fancy names for savings, pretty much, SACCO. And in fact, CIC is based on and built from the SACCO society. So just coming together towards a collective agenda. So SACCOs, what do? You put money aside every month or every so often with the aim of being able to get debt. And it's the same thing with investments, savings and investments, whether it's in a SACCO or in any other platform. And for us, at SICAM, our platform is the Money Market Fund, which is our largest savings and investment platform. And it's the same thing. In fact, if you asked what is a money market fund, it is a formalized chama. And what's a chama? A SACCO. Yeah. So we're just saying it is people bringing the money together and then investing and being able to get something in return, or a merry-go-round. It's just formalizing those informal things that we used to have, and bringing and putting it together. Yeah. So the concept of saving, like you said, coming from SACCOs, we've just been able to enhance that and make it easier for people to be able to access it from anywhere in the world. Yeah.
You've said something that's very interesting that struck me. You said, as a SACCO, you then save money in order to get debt. You didn't say take a loan. You didn't say access credit or capital. You said in order to get debt. Why did you say that?
Well, they mean the same thing, but it's as a means to be able to get debt.
Yeah.
It's taking a loan.
You're getting into debt, because usually it's taking a loan and you leave it at that. But what we're saying essentially is that when you do this, you get debt, and then you then have an obligation that you have to then, pay back.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I never heard it like that, but I think that's interesting. It puts a bit of a mindset marker that this is actually, what you're getting into. The pain point for a lot of folk, though, and I know that we might stick on this, is that with what you earn, for a lot of people today, the realization, and it's not just being sensational or being whiny, that it is not enough, right? That you may save, but then you are going to have a negative. So what I hear you saying is that you are then looking to people to look for something else to do, the side hustle mentality, as it were. The question is, what can you think of, or what can you do that will then be in line with protecting what you have to secure something else in addition to?
That's a great question. Thank you. And I think the critical thing to look at here is, how can I make more income, right? And so investments are the answer to that. So, and whether it's, if you're moderate, whether it's a money market fund, if you're, a high risk, like Charles looks to be, you can invest in an equity fund. And though you look like you're a focused person, you can invest in a fixed income fund. So what you're trying to do is look for alternatives
Maybe
to
the
this
other way
salary.
It could flip.
I love your sense of humor.
But the point is you work with what you have. So if you have just a little money set aside, put that, invest it so it can generate you an income. And I think that's the story I'm trying to give today, is that there's an opportunity for you to be able to make money for yourself. And not everyone is skilled at being an entrepreneur, but people have whatever you have, whether it's from your salary, from your side hustle, from your entrepreneurship, an inheritance. You want to be able to protect that, the little that you have or the much that you have, and grow it.
Okay.
That's the aim, to protect and grow what you've been able to do.
A lot of times we don't look at the importance of the little, a widow's mite, as it were. And we say, and we're not, look, 5,000 shillings today is lofty. It is lofty. So somebody who says, well, you know what, by the time I finish everything and I have put aside this, that, what I'm left with is 500 shillings. And the adage is between myself and poverty. Are you saying that even that 500 shillings is not too little for you to take and then put it somewhere where it could either grow something for you or put it into something that would then grow into a business, for example. Is that what we're saying? Because I think that what we need to do, especially in these times, is be practical.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the inspirational and sensational side of it, where it said, you can be whatever you want. I started as a chicken farmer and here I am owning poultry for the globe. But we can be practical, whereby truly, Mudhoni, what you actually have in your pocket or in your M-Pesa, when all is said and done, is 500 shillings. The person who has this water, and then there's the debt part of it. You have debt, so maybe you have a negative 50,000. Where do you start from? And I think we want to know, what can you actually do practically to dig yourself out of that hole? I mean, you've given some examples of who you can go and have a chat with, but with that 500 shillings in your pocket, are you armed with enough to actually make a difference?
Okay, perfect question, and thank you for that. And I'll give you a practical example. And I'll give CIC Asset Management. Our current minimum for the money market fund is 5,000 shillings. We are looking to review that, given the feedback we've been able to get. And so if all you have is 500 shillings, there's nothing that stops you from putting it aside. Get another 1,500, put it aside. Get another 1,500, put it aside. And then finally get another 500. Yeah? And then you have your 5,000 and you're able to invest in it. Yeah? So it's investments has been democratized. We've been able to lower the minimum. It used to be as high as 10,000. We've brought it down to 5,000, and we're taking it further down to be able to enable this middle income and even lower, because for 500 and 5,000, a low income earner can be able to achieve that, and then invest your money. And the benefit of the investment structure that we have, and I'm emphasizing on the money market fund, is because it provides you with an avenue to meet your goals. Yeah.
Well,
and then, and then it also gives you liquidity. So if you're saying I want to save 100,000 in the next 2 years, because we're talking about middle income earners here, not the high. So I want to earn 100,000 in 2 years, but a year down the line, you have an emergency of whatever kind, or black tax, whichever. But you are able to access the funds as and when you need. You meet your emergency or whatever it is, and then you continue saving. So that's what we're trying to say is that it is possible.
Okay.
It is possible to start saving.
You insist on this money market fund quite some.
Yeah.
Can you just, because you said it can be likened to a chama, but okay, what exactly is it? How does it work? What are the risks of it? And then how do folks get into it?
Okay. So a money market fund is just a fancy name for a formalized chama. So it's a chama is, you're collecting money, putting money together, and it's a collective investment scheme. So you bring your 5 million, he brings his 10 million.
25 million.
Oh, sorry. He brings his 25 million, and then we take 5,000 from someone else. We get 100 million from the big institutions, and then the 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, and we bring it all together, and then we invest it on your behalf. Yeah? And so we invest it in secure investments, because one of the critical things, and especially at CIC Asset Management, is investment security. You want that if you give me your 5,000 or your 50 million, that you will at least get it back. And so we take that money and we invest in securities that have that capital preservation. Capital preservation simply means you give me your money, you will get it back. Yeah. So invest in government securities, invest in investment-grade corporate securities, and we're able to get an interest regularly. And then for our fund, we give you an interest on a monthly basis. So you actually have compounding interest coming in. And Albert Einstein says, compounding interest is one of the 8 wonders of the world. And it's able to grow your money very fast. And so if you're consistent in your saving, you're able to grow your wealth and your funding very fast. So other features about the money market fund is liquidity. Like I said, is as and when you need your money, you're able to get it. And then
with no loss?
With no loss at all. No loss at all. And then it can achieve many objectives. So for instance, if you've just retired, you've gotten your lump sum, you can put it in a money market fund, and then every month you get an income. Or if you've just gotten an inheritance or whatever, you're able to put in your money. You can get a monthly income from it if you want. And if you choose to reinvest, then you're able to accumulate and grow your wealth quite aggressively in this money market fund that we have. Yeah, and it also provides diversification. So typically, as individuals, you'll probably just put your money in your bank and leave it there. But for us, we take your money and we diversify it. We put it in multiple assets so that we can reduce the risk and ensure you can get an income.
And so for a money market fund, it is a guarantee that you will get your money back. There will be no long story, oh, this, that happened, and then therefore we're not able to give you back your money, or it's tied up in assets, whatever, and then there will be a delay on any kind of reimbursement to you. That doesn't come into play?
That doesn't come into play. So in fact, the basis of a money market fund is capital preservation and liquidity. You give me your 10 million, you get it back as and when you need it. Yeah. As a minimum. So unlike now, I don't know whether I'll choose you or you for the equity fund or for the fixed term fund. We said you're the more aggressive one. No, you're the more aggressive one. You are.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm just talkative. I'm not necessarily aggressive.
okay.
There's a fundamental difference.
There's a fundamental difference.
Yes.
All right.
You know the
risk taker then.
That I am.
Yes.
So
often to my detriment, but I am.
Yes, if you're a risk taker, you have equity fund, which is just shares, investing in companies that are listed in the NSE. So then you're not a risk taker. So it's not for you.
I am a risk taker, but shares.
You would not buy.
I will not buy.
All right.
Not in the traditional sense of the word, where you're talking about shares that are traded on the
Nairobi Securities Exchange.
No, not that. Not that. I would look for something that looks like a business that is going in a certain direction. I would be interested in participating in such a process.
It's the same thing.
No.
But story for another day.
You know, it's not the same thing. I have to comment on this. The reason why it's not the same thing, the shares that are on the open market, I have no control over. I have no big say. There are too many other factors that are at play, and many of them I have no idea of. Okay? This one, when it is you and the company, I have a very clear idea.
Yeah.
If there's something I don't know, I can always ask and figure it out. Okay? That is all. I am not saying it is unsafe. This is now what you call preference.
True, and you are allowed to have that. But when I say they're the same, the concept is the same. It's a business. It's a company that's doing a specific business, and you're going to get the returns from the business that has made. It's only that the Nairobi Securities Exchange gives you liquidity. You can easily get in and out of it. Unlike this one that you're talking about, it will only be you and the private investors who would be able to invest in it. But the concept is the same. Is you're supporting business, yeah, and you're able to get a return from it.
I never really thought of it that I'm supporting business. I will look at it as I'm trying to make money.
Yes, ultimately. So you're supporting business to be able to make money from it. Yes. And then the fixed income fund, which, like the name says, you have fixed income. So you have, you're able to get interest on a regular basis. Ours is every 6 months. And so you can plan and know every 6 months I'll be able to get a specific amount of money and make my money that way.
You can?
Yeah.
What's the minimum?
5,000 Kenyan shillings. So for all our products.
Over what period of time?
So now that's the benefit, is you can choose. If you want 5 years, you'll just invest for 5 years. If you want 10 years, you just invest for 10 years. And as and when. And so if you say my target is 10 years, but I want to extend it to 15, you can. Or if my target is 10 years, but I have gotten something in 5 or 7 years, can I get my liquidity back? And you can.
And is that amount fixed? What if I start with 5,000 and then I'm able to get 6? Can I then put in the 6?
So that now the principal is 6,000. Then I come back and I say my principal rises.
Yes, and that is the nature and the purpose of this product, is that you can keep accumulating and increasing the amount.
And if some land I bought, which I thought was useless, suddenly acquires value and I sell it, and I then have 20,000 and I put it in, is that also permitted?
Exactly. It gives you that flexibility.
Yeah. Mudhoni, should you only invest in what you understand? Because a lot of times, folks are going to come and sell you stuff and say, oh, just give me your 5,000 shillings, I'll grow it for you. You don't worry. Just know that at the end of the day, every month, you know that you have 5,000 shillings. I will give you 150 shillings on top of it. Just know that you'll be getting 150. So you put your 5,000 and you know that 150 is coming to you on a monthly. So at the end of the year, you got, give or take, an extra 1,000 plus on your 5,000. You don't know what's happening with your money. You don't know that maybe the people who are investing it for you are maybe making more than the 1,000 they're giving you in the month, in the year, or exactly where this money is going. Should you invest in processes that you do not understand as an individual?
So prudence would say invest in what you understand, and at least get the basics right. So Warren Buffett is one of the biggest investment gurus there is. He says, invest in what you understand. So someone will tell you, oh, this product will multiply your earnings by whatever percentage. But if you don't know what they are investing in, just prudence dictates understand it. Yeah, and then that's why it's important, and I keep emphasizing on the money market fund. Why it's important for such to invest in such products is, one, it's regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. So you have a independent power who oversees this product. So it's not just the person who set it up. There's an independent party. And then there are other multiple independent parties who are there. So you have the fund manager, in this case it's CIC Asset Management. You have a custodian who holds the assets separately. And then you have a trustee. And the trustee is the one who acts on behalf of the investments. So they oversee what is CIC Asset Management doing, and are they making investments in line with what the Capital Markets Authority has said. And then also we have our fund fact sheets, which are available on our website. So at cic.asset.co.ke. You're able to go there and you can see, we are able to clearly show you these are the assets we have invested in. So we're not telling you we've invested your money and we're not telling you where it is. We're showing you where it's been invested. And so you can clearly understand and see, this is where my money is going, and this is how my money is being made, which is very important. So that you're not putting your money in a place where it's in a black hole, where they could be doing illegal things, and you're the one funding. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's really important to go for institutions that are well known, are reputable, and have the capacity to show you, this is where I've put my money. And that's what CIC Asset Management does with the money market fund. Yeah. And we're able to, across the board, from low income, middle to high income. Yeah. So I can give you an example. Like our current assets under management are 60 billion Kenyan shillings, and our minimum is 5,000. So just telling you, we accommodate people across the spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of what they're able to.
Exactly.
Give us examples.
Yeah.
Case studies, because usually sometimes we hear of this is how it has worked, where somebody was, crazy in the doldrums and then was able to start saving a little bit, chipping away at it to the point whereby you say this person, at least for now, is standing on 2 feet, as opposed to when they were crawling, standing on 2 feet, then now able to go to the next step.
Okay. So I'll give you an example. My father used to keep telling me, there's a man who used to sell newspapers, and he was able to save about 500 shillings a day.
A real man?
Yes.
Okay.
Human being. But in the olden days, so when I've said selling newspapers, when you could actually make a lot of money from selling newspapers. And so he would be able to put aside 500 shillings every day. So in a month, the work days, in as much as, yes, you would still sell newspapers over the weekend, but you'll be able to save more on the weekdays. So you have 20 days of saving 500 shillings. How much money is that?
10,000.
2,500.
10,000 shillings.
No, I'm going by 5 working days.
Okay.
That's 2,500. If you add the other 2, you're right, 10,000 a month. Of course.
So 2,000.
I'm a bit slow.
It's okay. I got you, Baba. I got you.
Yeah, she's got you. Don't worry. Yeah, so he was able to put aside. You were getting there eventually. Excellent. So he got 10,000 shillings. And so as you would imagine, someone who sells newspaper is not really a high income earner, but you're able to put aside 20,000 every month. And so put the money in a money market fund and slowly accumulated it. So of course there were sacrifices that this person had made. So it means you're not getting the luxury that someone who's spending their 500 is, you are sacrificing it, but you're able to put it aside and you're able to accumulate it. And that's what happened. So he was able to build his portfolio quite fast because he was consistent. He had 20,000 every month, and he was able to buy land in his home, and he was able to build there. And then if compared to now the people who are higher up who had not been saving, after 10 years, he had his home, he dedicated his children, and he was doing well. And he still had his lump sum that was there earning him income. As opposed to some of his other colleagues who spent all they had, earning much higher, but spent all they had. Yeah. So, I mean, it's practical. It's you choose. I need to be able to be financially independent, and you go ahead and invest.
Yeah. At the risk of sounding repetitive, but I think it is important, because the talk of creating a savings culture has been around for a while, but still a lot of us are still unable to get it. So at the risk of sound, what would you say to somebody today, not sure of what tomorrow is, and very stressed by the current economic situation to say that you can actually do something, what would you say to them?
Yeah, so to emergency funds, and that's a very good question. Emergency funds are critical, and saving towards that is even more important. So I think many of us experienced COVID. Many of us are also experiencing these tough economic times that we have now. The cost of living has gone up, and so if you had money set aside, you're able to weather through the storms. Yeah, and so when things are okay, if they ever are, that's a time to put money aside. Even when things are hard, sacrifice and put money aside, because things can get hard. And I'll give you, and just going back to the times of COVID, when we were hit by COVID, you'd imagine this is the worst. It can't get any worse. Yeah, get hit by COVID, and then you have the Russia-Ukraine war. So tougher times. We get Israel and Hamas, even tougher times. So you're just showing that just keep that emergency fund going. It's what will cater and help you going forward. Yeah.
All right.
It's critical.
It is critical. I mean, a lot of stuff. And then, like you say, there's something that everybody can do today.
Yeah.
An example of today might be a bit hard to find in terms of how the process, but what we're saying is one step, put another one in front of the other.
Exactly.
And see what you can get out of that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here this morning. It's not too far a thing to say, let's remind ourselves of what we can or cannot do. It's tough. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the first steps, being able to say that it is tough, but that even in the midst of all that toughness, that there's something that we can do, or there's somewhere that we can start.
Yeah.
Mudhoni Moore is the portfolio manager, CIC Asset Managers, and she's been our guest this hour, fostering and encouraging a savings and investment culture amongst middle-income earners, and seeing what we can do within these tough economic times. Thank you for being in the hot seat this morning, and hope to have further conversations like this with you in the future. Asante Sana.
Thank you for having me.
Conversations continue at 9 o'clock after the news. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Good morning. This is the news wire. I'm Leah Obaga. The government oil plan has saved the economy from sinking, softening the cost of living. Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority Director General Daniel Kiptoo said the plan has protected the economy from exchange rate volatility by eliminating the spot purchases for the greenback by about 100 oil marketing companies. He said fuel is the country's single largest import commodity that required $500 million monthly, piling pressure on the country's limited forex reserves during the open tender system regime. Justice Chacha Mwita will hear a matter in which he ordered the Attorney General and the Director of Public Prosecutions to produce Nairobi City County Johnson Sakaja's key liaison person Osman Halif Abdi in court. This follows his alleged abduction on November 10th. Justice Mwita said the two should produce the former South Sea MCA Osman in Milimani or any other court on November 17th. If not, they should show cause why the said Osman should not be released. The orders followed after his wife Yasmin Osman filed an application in court. She said his whereabouts remain unknown to date, even after reporting the incident at the Pangani police station. Kenya will today join the rest of the world in marking World Prematurity Day. World Prematurity Day is observed on November 17th of each year to raise awareness of the challenges and burden of preterm birth and the concerns of preterm babies and their families worldwide. A premature birth means a baby is born before the 37th week of pregnancy. This year's event will be held at Makueni County Referral Hospital under the theme Small Actions. Just a few hours after the National Assembly approved the deployment of police officers to Haiti to deal with criminal gangs, a security expert in Trans Nzoia County, Philemon Semoi, has questioned the move, given that the court is expected to give a decision on the matter by the 26th of January next year. Semoi said Kenya should not be a puppet of the United States for their personal interests.
Nchi ya Haiti ni mbali mno, karibu kilomita zaidi ya 12,000. Kabla tukubali kutuma askari wetu katika nchi ya Haiti, tungekuwa na mazungumzo mwafaka kwanza katika bunge la taifa letu la Kenya, hata Senate, ili tukubaliane, tuone kwamba ni jambo ambalo litatusaidia kama Wakenya, ama ni mambo ambaye tumejitwika jukumu ambalo silo letu, kuenda kupigana ile tunaita proxy war on behalf of the American government. So ni onyo tu kwa serikali kwamba tusikue ni watu wa kutamani hiyo 14 billion ambaye ametolewa na serikali ya Marekani na kutupa vijana wetu kule waende wakawawe. Hatutaki warudi ndani ya majeneza.
He has said that it's clear several countries have tried to get into Haiti to restore stability without success.
Marekani wamejaribu kwa miaka zilizopita wakashindwa. Nchi ya Ufaransa walijaribu, wameshindwa. Uingereza wamejaribu, wameshindwa. Nchi mingi amejaribu kutatua shida la Haiti, lakini imekuwa ni vigumu. Manake wale milisha ni vikundi vingi sana ambavyo viko kule Haiti. They don't welcome external visitors to come and deal with their problems. Wanaona kwamba hao wenyewe ndio wako na njia mwafaka ya kutatua matatizo yao. Kwa hiyo wakiona Kenya tunatuma askari kule, inaashiria kwamba tayari sisi tunapigana vita ama tunaserve American interests.
2 foreigners have been arrested and explosives used for gold exploration with a street value of 9 million shillings seized along the border of Kenya and Tanzania. Migori County Police Commander Francis Nguli said the suspects were transporting the explosives to an unknown destination using a probox when the police netted them. And finally, at least 3.2 million people die prematurely across the globe as a result of household air pollution. Health stakeholders say in Kenya, 23,000 people die annually from household air pollution. They, however, say that to deal with this, they've scaled up awareness on the need to embrace clean energy, which has been hampered by the high cost of safe alternatives.
We need to do more than just saying this is good for you, it's good for your health. We know people know that the causes of some of the problems they have health-wise comes from the smoke from their cooking apparatus. But they are fixated to it because it's the only available means of preparing food.
That's the Newswire. I'm Lal Obaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyan.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
What the big boys have also done.
I'm very proud of myself. When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom? I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, a few minutes after 9 o'clock and traffic still continues. A few parts of the city here and there. It shouldn't be too crazy. We're looking at movement coming in from the Thika Superhighway. That still continues for now. But I think we'll be fine getting into the end of traffic hour. We're also looking at a little bit of movement here and there coming out of Westlands. On Uhuru Highway is probably where we'll see the most of it right about now. But I think we should be fine for most of it. Yes. Let's talk in a little bit and see what happens when we come out of traffic hour. But talk to us in the meantime on Spice FM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Missed it by a minute, but we should have been at 9:09. We did 7:07. We did 8:08. We almost at 9:09, but all right. 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, and here we are wrapping up the week's conversations on Kenya's biggest conversation this morning, and we're getting into a corruption conversation this hour. And I don't know that it's necessarily, we're not going to laud it, but all right, we're getting into that. But you still have an opportunity to step up and shine with Kiwi. Step up and shine where you will walk into any supermarket over the next couple of days. The weekend is a great time to do that. And I know it's dreary out because of the rains and all of that, but you still have a chance to step up and shine with Kiwi. Go to your supermarket, pick up a tin of Kiwi in whatever size you want to do that. And this is the 80 grams, and this is the 25 ml. Or the 20 grams, okay? And there's one in between, 40, I believe. But what you need to do, pick up the tin with this new logo, of course, and then you will pick up your phone and then you'll dial *459 *5#. There's a code once you pop the lid. Under that, the lid is a code, okay? You input that code as you're dialing that number and you will get instant data or airtime. So you cannot buy this thing without winning something. So airtime, data, yours. Boom. Then we go to entering you into the draw whereby you could win 35,000 shillings. It goes towards school fees. It could be yours. It could be for somebody else. You can buy and hope to win for somebody. And you get the chance in January when school fees come a-biting to step up and shine with Kiwi. So let's do it. All right. And we're getting into a conversation which is a difficult one. Sometimes it's heavy when we think about it, but maybe we don't think about it in the proper way. And if we did, perhaps there would be a difference. Joseph Okako is the CEO of the Ethics Institute of East Africa. I really hope that I did not butcher your name. Okako.
You tried.
I tried. So at least give me that. Yes. Joseph, karibu sana and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
You're in the hot seat.
Yes, I feel it.
With a hot topic.
Yes.
And there are very many issues that we're talking about around that. The pain of corruption in Kenya, and really unfurling what that pain is and what we feel. And really, when we talk about corruption, what exactly are we talking about? So we're getting into all of that. So thank you for being here this morning, as we do.
Thank you.
And your organization tasked with, looking at some of these things, for sure. But let's welcome you properly. At least something before we get to the pain. Right? Before the pain is the proverb, and it's from DR Congo.
Yes, this is our final proverb from the country of DR Congo. The eye always envies what is forbidden.
Joseph?
The eye always envies what is
forbidden. What do you make of that?
You will always go for that which has been which you have been told not to. All right, it's just like what is in the Bible. The Bible indicates that when God created man and even put them in the Garden of Eden, He says, "Don't touch this tree." But then what happened is that whatever He told them not to touch is what actually
He touched.
They touched.
Yeah, and here we are. Here we are with all of this drama because they were told not to touch.
Now we are in this situation because we are told not to touch. That's the situation we are in.
It is indeed. Oh, good observation. So, here we are. In all this drama that we talk about, corruption here, impunity there, theft here, every tax, underdevelopment, it just becomes a little bit heavy here and there. But let's start with, the Ethics Institute of East Africa. there's an ethics institute. What is it that this institute does?
First of all, my name is Joseph Patterson Ohako. I'm the CEO, I'm the founding and the chair of Ethics Institute of East Africa. And the institute basically is formed with a main goal of institutionalizing ethics within the East African region. It goes beyond the integrity that we are always fond of. It goes beyond the Public Officers Ethics Act that we are all fond of. It goes beyond the Economic and the Crimes Act that we are all fond of. Matters of ethics, matters of consciousness, right, is what we are talking about here. If you look at what is happening currently, we have all the legislation, and including the Constitution of Kenya is very much indicative of what exactly we need to do in terms of eradicating corruption. All that we have done is not making headway, all right? Because we have institutionalized corruption to the level where it is part of us. And so for us to get out of this, I thought that probably the base is now to touch on the mind, touch on the conscience of the person, so that we can be able to now talk one-on-one and see how we can be able to reach somewhere. That is the whole idea behind Ethics Institute of East Africa. And so we discuss a lot of we train people on matters ethics. Ethics at the workplace, for example, ethics in human resource management. All right, we all know that we have the relevant legislations guiding recruitment and the promotions in this country. But then with the aspect of nepotism, tribalism, recruiting people that are not that do not conform to the requirements of the organization is all behind Ethics Institute of East Africa, to be able to ensure that those who are recruited actually are ethical in terms of their attitude and performance.
Okay.
That is Ethics East Africa.
Now, based on that, what is corruption?
Now, corruption as defined within the relevant legislations or statutes is abuse of office. It starts with the abuse of office. You are put in office and you abuse your office. You make use of embezzlement of money, and all those things revolve around corruption. And it goes into what can I add there? Embezzlement, fraud, dishonesty, unfairness, nepotism, abuse of public trust, and so on and so forth. That is corruption.
All that is corruption.
All that is corruption.
Okay.
The effect of it is corruption. Yes, what comes out of that, dishonesty, disloyal, unfaithfulness to your employer and so on and so forth, is all about corruption.
It's all corruption.
Yes.
Because usually we chalk it up to, all right, if somebody took money from the office, or if somebody then uses public funds for their own benefit,
exactly.
We just say that is corruption. But
Yes,
you've named a number of other things that would then end up in the basket of corruption.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
If you are a CEO of a state corporation, for example, and you allow a tender process to go the way that it's not supposed to go, that's also corruption. Exactly, yes.
Okay. Why is it such a problem in so many of our countries today?
Now, I will basically talk about our history, and it's about culture that we have that we allowed this culture to take root into our system. It starts from, I will basically talk about Kenya, for example. After independence, what happened is that we came up with this concept of Harambee, all right, which was a very good concept, pulling together resources, pulling together our energies so that we can be able to maybe build a bridge or build an office and so on and so forth. But then it was abused. It was abused and it got entrenched into our culture as if it is part of what we should be doing. The chiefs could come to your home when the president or a senior government official is coming to do a fundraising and he has been given a target of 10,000 shillings those days. A chief will come to your home and he wants you to donate something to also participate in the fundraising. Maybe give 200 shillings or 300 shillings. And you don't have the money because maybe your background is very low. But then the chief goes for the chicken. He takes your chicken, goes to sell. He sells a lot of money, accounts for the other money during the fundraiser, and the other money he puts in the pockets. And you being a villager, you will not complain because you are fearing you will be harassed. And so it became a norm that this is just a common thing that the chiefs do or the village headmen do, and it entrenched to us. Now it has reached a situation whereby if you are driving on the road and the police officer flags you, the police officer is not intending to ask you anything, maybe. Although in most cases they are intending to ask for whatever they want to ask. But then what comes to your mind when you're driving and the police officer flags you down? He wants something. So you start looking at how much money do I have in my pockets? All right? So it has now reached to that level. It has gone further now, where now in procurement is a normal thing to happen. That now we even budget for corruption. You have... You know very well, the process of budgeting begins with planning, and then you do the budgets and so on and so forth, and then you do the procurement. But then you discover that certain tenders or contracts are actually tailor-made for specific cartels, certain people who should be given. And it is so clear that nothing is wrong with that anyway, when we know it's actually wrong. Because that is what leads to inflation of costs. That leads to high cost of doing the project that we are supposed to undertake. And then it affects everything that the government may have planned to achieve on behalf of Mwananchi. That is actually the problem. It started way back. And the previous governments have not been able to deal with it effectively. Why? There was attempts to deal with it during the Kibaki era. The first year, 2 years, everything went on very well, and then everything collapsed on the way. Why? Because what happens is that when you get into office today, if I get into office today as a president, the first thing that these cartels will do is to come around me and show me how to do things. And so if I have all the vigor, I have all the energies to fight them, of course they will put me in the box. All right? And then that is a problem. So during those days, we had some success stories to write about. It didn't actually take us too far. Uhuru Kenyatta came in. He tried actually even reading the Riots Act to the government officials. It worked for some time. It didn't actually succeed.
What worked? What worked for some time?
Yeah, we saw some people being suspended from office, some people being told to step aside. And of course, that was a very good indication. That is a clear indication that maybe, because actually stopping corruption, it has to be from the top. Somebody must lead the way to deal with the issues of corruption. If you are a CEO in a state corporation, you must lead your officers in saying no to corruption. If you are a president, you must lead your cabinet secretaries in saying no to corruption, and in very clear language for them to understand. All right? It can't be political. This one has to be very administrative and very disciplined way of dealing with it. Okay. So now we are here where we are here today because of not having taken interest so much in dealing with this issue.
Why has it been so difficult for government after government to fight? And it's not just Kenya. It's countries on the continent. It's countries around the world. Why do you think it's so difficult for some governments to fight corruption? Because corruption also fuels some economies. It supports some economies. All right. Take for example a country like Russia, which is ranked so poorly on the TI index, is one of the countries with a very high level of corruption. All right. And that's why where I sit, I have never thought in my life that you can completely eradicate corruption in any country. Even USA has its own level of corruption. Switzerland has its own level of corruption. That's why I have never seen on the TI index a country that has been able to score 100% on the score. But they can start somewhere. The beauty is that they need to start somewhere. And these countries that have done very well on the TI index actually they started from somewhere. Right? They started from somewhere and reached where they are today. They have very good scores is because they realized their mistakes and took deliberate measures to ensure that corruption does not get into the system as a culture. Okay. Yesterday, Yesterday, as in 24 hours ago, not even 24 hours. The Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Felix Koske, directed the suspension of 6 chief executive officers for alleged involvement in corruption and procurement irregularities within their respective institutions. And this was for immediate release from the Executive Office of the President by way of the Office of the State House spokesperson. Right? So there were a number of people under the advisement that came from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission that these individuals were under investigation.
Yes.
Kera was under them. They wrote to the cabinet. Right. They wrote to the cabinet secretary for the Ministry of Water and Sanitation to do his thing there. They also then wrote to the cabinet secretary for Public Service to do his thing there. They wrote to the board of the National Museums to do his thing. They also then wrote to the cabinet secretary for Gender to do her thing there. And then they called for the suspension of folks who are at Ketraco, etc., etc. It came to quite a number of people. In addition to that, they then wrote to the Inspector General of Police to suspend 67 officers. It was, it would look like the butcher had come to town. And was saying, you know what, we have heard from the EACC that investigation is taking place. Charges have not been proffered, but there is an investigation. On that alone, tell them to go home. Is that enough?
Now, we are starting from somewhere. And I've said you start from somewhere and you lead the way. I was on Radio Maisha a few weeks ago and I made a comment. I made a statement that I have known the president to be a very action-oriented person and that he will get tired one of these days. And I used a Swahili statement that Nyundo itatembea. I didn't know that it will happen yesterday. It has just started. Now that is actually a clear indication. It's not enough, but at least we are starting from somewhere. Now, my experience for the many 25 years that I've been in the field, I have always advocated for what is happening yesterday. Now, this is my reason why I'm doing it. You may be intending to be appointed in a government office next week. But there is a case that is under investigation. My advice has been that the EACC or DCI should be able to advise the appointing authority not to appoint you for the time being until the investigations are over and either you are found to be culpable or not culpable in a court of law. That has been my approach. Now, for reason being that these two institutions, the DCI and DACs, are the ones who can be able to investigate and say either there is a case or there is no case. You will be presented and then you will also defend yourself. It is true or it is not true. Once it is proven that it is not true, you can be given appointment. Because if the president intends to appoint you, definitely he has an interest in what you are doing. He will definitely appoint you one way or another once these two institutions have indicated that you are not actually corrupt. Now, in the past, this has not been happening. You find people who are involved in corruption, and then you are told that there has not been proven information to show that this person is actually corrupt. And then you find them in office. When they reach those offices, they start covering the tracks. And I had a discussion with one very senior official at the Public Service Commission at that time. I think she has already retired, and I had an argument with her that we are public officers in public offices, at that time being the head of ethics and integrity in one state department, this organization, in this country. And I told her, you are making our life very difficult, madam. You are sending to us directors and CEOs who are tainted, who are corrupt in their minds, and you want us to continue running the affairs of anti-corruption in these public institutions. Things are becoming very difficult for us, because when these directors come in office, they have their own interests to meet. They have their own objectives, all right? And I remember one person asked, "Who is Joseph?" And why this issue of anti-corruption? Is it so necessary to have anti-corruption function in this institution? And clearly the person wasn't happy that I'm actually head of an anti-corruption unit in a public institution. So you see now, when you have people like those ones getting into public offices, and you don't know their attitude, or they are spoken for so well in to the appointing authority, and now they have been appointed, it becomes very difficult for the state and public officers to actually ensure there is no corruption in those institutions. And that has been the problem.
We speak of corruption in this country as though it's a disease for which we quite haven't found the medication or the treatment that will eliminate it. And yet, the unfortunate thing about it is, even if it were a disease, it's something that is it's embedded in human beings. We understand corruption through the expression of other human beings, other Kenyans. And for something to be expressed by a human being, either they must have knowledge of it, or it's something that is part and parcel of their makeup. So they do not actually even have a problem manifesting it. Why do I say this? You see, the very essence of the law presupposes that people will want to do things which are wrong.
Yes.
Because if that was not the case, then we would not need laws. Because we would know exactly what to do and we would do it. But when you are in a country like ours where you have laws and you know you have laws, but it appears that those are the very laws that people then use as instruments to work against the very rule of the law that was supposed to be in existence. One, an example that was demonstrated by the immediate former president, Uhuru, who swore an oath at the presidency to adhere to the norms of the constitution and would blatantly and openly ignore court summons. So, the power of example that then resonates and then provides a platform from which others can then take a cue is that if the head of state can ignore court orders, it means he's disregarding the law. So if he's disregarding the law, what then do you think will happen? Because when you talk of corruption, and the example you've just given, you're saying people who are in leadership whom you would think would lead the charge in showing how best to abide by the dictates of the law are the people who, they don't question it. They actually find ways of going about it. So we have been led by example over several presidencies. So is it then any wonder that despite the institutions we have, corruption is still not just the norm in this country, it's a growth industry?
It is. Actually, it's a problem we are in at the moment. And that's why I have said that the best way is to have a leader who decides that this is now going to be my calling. You know, the same way you become a pastor and you say, I'm going to spread the gospel. We are looking forward to the day we will have a leader who will say, this is my calling. As to what, for example, what happened to Singapore and the other countries that have really controlled corruption so much. Can we be able, the leader comes and says, this is my calling. I swear unto God that in this country there shall be no corruption. Of course, it's not possible to say there will be 100% ethical culture in an organization, because you have rightfully said that by nature we are tuned to do wrong things even when we are supposed to be doing the right things. The Bible says when God created us man, when created man, he directed them to choose either wrong or right. But we have majority of us who are always choosing the wrong path. And we feel that it is okay to choose the wrong path. The wrong path. And we leave the other part which is very free with very few people going to heaven, and we choose the wrong path where we have millions and millions of people going. A clear indication that that is the way. But I am sure Kenya is not unique. Kenya is just a country like any other country. They will look forward to that day there will be that leader. And maybe that leader may be the current president, because what he has done yesterday to me is, I looked at that. I was sent this information somewhere when I was at the airport, and I said, just a moment. This is something I spoke about some years back, that there should be deliberate move by the leadership to direct people to do the right thing when they are not doing it. My problem now yesterday was, where was the board of directors?
Of what?
Of these institutions that the head of service was directing. Because by their formation, actually, the people who hire and fire the CEOs of state departments are supposed to be board of directors. So if you find the board of directors seated and they're not doing anything, until they get a directive from a head of civil service.
But should that be the case, really?
It should not be the case.
Yes, exactly.
It should not be the case, because now they are putting the head. You know what is going to happen one day? Somebody will go to court and say, what is the role of the head of civil service in micromanaging?
They're actually going to go to court.
Exactly.
They'll say this is unprocedural.
It's unprocedural. And we have bought, and let me tell you something. I have said this. Can we have board of directors appointed based on merit and integrity? Because that will actually I'm not saying for all these institutions, but I'm talking about those sensitive institutions.
It has to be for all institutions.
All right? Because let me tell you why.
Give leeway that
if you're cutting out a disease, you're cutting out a disease.
Yeah. Now for start, as an example, very sensitive institutions should be led by boards that have been vetted. They are very much sure they are people, men and women of integrity.
Brother, all boards are vetted in this country.
Now, unfortunately, the criteria being used to appoint this board of directors, nobody knows. Because, I'll give you a very good example. A guy calls me some years back and asks me, Joe, I want you to help me. My son has just completed university, and we are looking. I want him to get employed. I'm going to sell my land. If you can be able to help me get somebody, employ my son. I said, just a moment. Sell your land to get money to bribe to buy a position for your son who has just completed university. At yes. Do you think that is proper? He said, because I'm unable to get him a job. Now, a few years later, of course, I didn't go beyond that. I said, those are things I cannot do. Then a few years later, this man is appointed on a board as a member of a board of directors. And he sends me a text message. He said, my brother, I've just got an appointment. Now, tell me, what is in the mind of this person when he gets into the office as a member of a board?
Okay. Well, let's take a break on that. Let's take a break at that point and then see what actually does happen and how does corruption actually bite. We don't think about it at that level. Yeah. We only think, well, somebody's gotten something here, but we don't think about it at a national level and what it actually does.
The negative effect is huge.
We'll look at the negative effects. Let's talk about what happens when you travel, shall we? We started to think about your next holiday, haven't you? And you can make the journey just as incredible as your destination when you treat yourself to Emirates business class. Your holiday starts with a glass of champagne to welcome you on board. Then you can stretch out on our spacious seats, pick something from the minibar, and then recline to your favorite movies and TV shows. There's even an A380 onboard lounge, can you believe it, where you can enjoy a cocktail and a few canapes with other travelers. The dining is incredible too. Enjoy delicious dishes from your destinations with some fine wines to match. When you're ready to sleep, you can get a good rest in our fully flat bed seat. So treat yourself to business class and fly better with Emirates.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Get ready for the festive season with Tease the Season. Join us at the Junction Mall rooftop on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of December at 6 p.m. for a magical Kenyan Christmas experience. The show is directed by Atemi Oyungu and Lisa Oduor Noah and feature some of your favorite artists, including Chris Adwar, Kendi Nkonge, and Manasseh Shalom. We also have new voices to introduce to you this year, but that's not all. On Saturday and Sunday from noon, we have a pop-up Christmas market for you to enjoy. Make sure you don't miss out on this incredible event and get your tickets now at ticketsasa.com. Advanced tickets are available for 1,700, while gate tickets are available for 2,200. Tease the season. A very Kenyan Christmas.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel ya.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 22 and it will come down to lows of 16. It's 20 and partly sunny in Nakuru with highs of 25 and 19 and partly sunny in Nyeri going to highs of 24. Eldoret will see mostly cloudy conditions at 19, highs of 25. And we're looking into a rainy Mombasa at 26 with highs of 30. Malindi this morning is sunny, partly at 27 with highs of 30 and lows of 25. And into Kisumu, mostly sunny at 25 with highs of 29 and it's partly sunny at 23 now in Kakamega with highs of 28 and lows of 15. Out into Kampala, partly sunny at 23 with highs of 27 and Dar es Salaam is cloudy at 27 with highs of 29. Partly sunny at 30 in Mogadishu with highs of 32 and at 18 Addis Ababa is mostly sunny with highs of 24. Mostly cloudy at 23 in Johannesburg with highs of 26 and Lagos is hazy at 26 with highs of 33. It's mostly cloudy at 25 in Kinshasa. Friday afternoon is sunny at 10 in Beijing, while Paris is cloudy at 7. London is cloudy at 5. It's clear at 12 in New York. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 20 and lows of 12. All right, the clock says we're coming out of traffic hour, but we're seeing just a little bit of movement left on the Thika Superhighway this morning, and it'll take you through at that Pangani underpass. There's also movement on Wayaki Way. It's ebbing and flowing, but we should be all right. As you get to Chiromo and then out towards the city, it's also moving, but a bit of a hold up right there at the junction. Limuru Road also, you should be fine. But as you get past Survey on the Thika Superhighway, Muthaiga Square, that whole axis is very, very busy this morning and moving slowly. Everywhere else seems to have, evened out, and we're hopeful that it remain that way through the day. Spice FM, KE on X. We keep things moving. Talk to us there through the morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
this morning, and as we went to the break, Joseph, we're asking ourselves, okay, so what are the effects of corruption? We talk about it as if it's something over there, right? And how often do we look at how it affects the country? The numbers that have been thrown out. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta talked about 2 billion shillings a day being lost to corruption. But when you look at that 2 billion shillings, perhaps the way we can see what effects it has on the country is if we ask ourselves, well, all right, 2 billion shillings today, what can it do? 2 billion shillings on a Monday morning, what can it do? 2 billion shillings on Tuesday, what can it do? 2 billion shillings on Wednesday, what can it do? 2 billion shillings on Thursday, what can you do? From Monday to Friday, let's just take away Saturday and Sunday. From Monday to Friday, if truly that number is correct, 10 billion shillings, and what it can do today, where would we be? 10 billion shillings would put a good dent in the capitation, for example, that has not gone to schools.
For students going to school.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
10 billion shillings, from what we've been told, can build a dispensary, level 1 or level 2 hospital,
exactly,
and equip it,
yes,
where people do not have,
yes,
and equip it,
yes.
10 billion shillings today could build a market whereby people are looking for certain things to be done.
Yes.
10 billion shillings could complete a road.
Yes.
So the effects of corruption, we may not want to see it, but
they're there.
They're there.
Yes. Actually, corruption squeezes the country of the available resources. All right. currently, for example, I think the problems we have with the present government, when they came into office, they discovered that we don't have enough money in the coffers, right? And this comes as a result of poor economic planning, where we have people planning for their pockets, are not planning for the economy, they are planning for their pockets. Inflated cost of building bridges, building roads. Look about the Camarera and the other dams that were to be constructed for the local people to use to get water, to access water. Those dams were never constructed. Why? Because somebody decided that instead of looking at the community, he's looking at himself. And that's exactly the problems that we find ourselves. The roads, a road that is supposed to be constructed at 2 billion shillings ends up being constructed at 15 billion shillings. Is a common feature here. You've seen some donors, for example, walking away, refusing to make to meet their financial obligations, to donate, to provide grants for construction of roads. Those are effects of corruption. Those are actually effects of corruption. You've seen what happened at the KEMSA before the president came in. The inflation of drugs and hospitals not having drugs. Those are effects of corruption. You are sick, you go to hospital in the local areas, and they write to you, you have to go and look for drugs elsewhere. And yet the government is buying drugs and putting at KEMSA. Those are the effects of corruption. Now, we look at the educational system. The government is subsidizing education, giving money for schools. And they strictly say students should be provided with the books. But still, the principals and head teachers are asking for money for purchase of books and asking for parents to buy books. That is actually where we are currently. You hear the Minister of Education, the CS Education, saying there should be no remedial in schools. Yes. But then you are called for a PTA meeting and the principal says you should pay 2,000 shillings, 3,000 shillings per term for your child to undergo to be involved in remedial. You don't pay, the child is chased away. Those are actually effects of corruption in black and white. All right. If you go, for example, back to the schools, have you seen a school where you are being asked go and buy uniform anywhere? You always told go and buy at the school.
Well, a public school?
Yes, go and buy from the school.
All right? You're given a specific place.
You are told a specific place where you can go and buy the uniform. Yeah. All right? And when you go there, first of all, the material, the quality is bad. You want to buy elsewhere, you can't go and buy. That is actually what corruption is doing. Now, look at the... if you are a whistleblower in a public institution, all right, the intimidation, the maiming, the frustration, the victimization you will go through as a whistleblower is quite enormous. Look at the Sangale case, for example, of Masai Mara University. Yeah. And my case, I'm actually, I think my case is also a similar one, where you see corruption and you tell your boss, no, this is not how it should be done. This is the procedure. Then you are victimized, you are demoted. They demoted me twice. They demoted me first. They thought they have not even done it. They did it again.
Because you did what?
Because I told them the corruption is not required.
It's not required?
It's not required. Okay. We have a procedure to follow on how you should do procurement processes. So whatever is happening, I have never seen it anywhere in a book, anywhere written. That is a procedure. And then you are told, we don't want you here. You are demoted, transferred, then they forget. They actually demoted you. They demote you again, second level. And then they start a process. The same process that Sangale went through. Now, the problem with the whistleblowing in this country, we don't have a framework to protect whistleblowers. The public officers...
Do you really think it's accidental we don't have a framework?
It's not accidental because I have written, I've actually... You know why I'm saying it's not accidental? Is because when my case came up, I wrote several letters. I wrote almost 2 letters to the DCI seeking for protection. And nothing was done. A clear indication that this is not something that is by mistake. It's something that is well thought of. Because this is a whistleblower, and the case you are handling runs into billions of shillings, and you don't take deliberate measures to protect this person. All right? And so people suffer. People like Sangale lost his job. I remained for some time. I found the heat was too much. I left.
Where did you work exactly?
You want me to mention?
Yes, I do.
At Kenya Ports Authority.
What was your function at Kenya Ports Authority?
I was head of ethics and integrity.
Oh dear, that's a tricky job.
There's something you ran, Standard ran about corruption at the port in 2019. You can go and check. It's me.
Oh, it's interesting. They took you away for doing a job.
Well,
yes, exactly. And the heat has been there all along because the people who were involved haven't left the institution. Okay. They are still there. So now when I discovered the heat was too much, I just decided to take an early retirement and do my own things. And that's why I'm where I am today, doing ethics Institute of East Africa activities.
You did mention that you perhaps, the axe will fall at some point, and we are pointing at some of these sackings that we've seen.
Yes,
in the papers today.
Yes.
You see, there's this little matter of adjudication. If you look at our laws, if you look at our constitution, the crafters of this constitution had seen this and had thought about it.
Exactly, yes.
And they put it in place. But if you look at the administration of the Uhuru government, the thing they sought to do when they came in was to water down some of these laws.
Exactly, yeah.
And they did a very good job of it. So that the functions of it, even when you move to something like enforcement, the Kenya Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission will write a list of people who should not hold public office and give reasons why.
Yes.
Those people end up holding public office.
They're cleared to run.
I mean, the very thing that particular law was supposed to do is then watered down to the point where it cannot be done. And we've seen in this government, they have also proceeded to try and water down as much as possible. You see, like now, this issue of recalling an elected leader is going to become impossible in this country. If the act that is currently, the bill that is currently being brought to Parliament...
It will be very hard to recall a leader.
No, it will not be possible. Okay? You talk about the public service. Chapter 6 was supposed to give him a code of conduct.
Exactly.
What is the code of conduct? What is it?
It's just a paper.
Yeah, because, you see, it's supposed to... You see, this corruption we keep talking about in public service, that code of conduct is to give you guidance as to know.
Exactly.
And when you talk about enforcement, if the teeth was removed from the ethics and anti-corruption, because, yes, they have a court, yes, they have police officers attached to them, but we saw the fight between the DPP, DCI,
and the EACC,
and we heard and we've read continuous complaints that the ethics and anti-corruption. So if you have these rules, these laws, and the very process of enforcing them is not possible. You see, people talk about countries like Singapore. The reason why they worked, they had laws.
They were enforcing.
There was a framework
of enforcement. Yes.
That told you can't do this, you can't do it. For instance, in Singapore, if you're caught drug trafficking, they kill you. This is not a joke.
They whip you if you throw garbage on the street.
It's a place where you can walk at any time. You don't even need to think about mugging or being afraid something will happen. The reason is because those laws that they have can be enforced. And now a reporting system. You'll find someone like the head of the equivalent of their ethics and anti-corruption. That person reports either to the deputy president or a prime minister. Direct. Now, in this government and in Kenya, we've understood it. You know why? Internal auditors in government and parastatals report to the board, not to the CEO. It's a very good thought. You know why?
Yes.
The CEO cannot have any control on the internal auditor.
Yes.
Now, you tell me, how then do you have an ethics and anti-corruption that reports to an office that by and large in a country like ours has a history of having a problem? And that's the report.
It's a challenge that the EACC have. I happen to have participated in when we were drafting the Leadership and Integrity Act under the umbrella that was being co-chaired, that was being coordinated by Transparency International at that time. And what we actually envisaged to be put in the Leadership and Integrity Act is not what was there actually. Somebody woke up early in the morning and went before the Minister for Justice at that time, being Eugene Wamalwa, and the document was completely messed up with, and what we have is not actually what we anticipated. And that's why I've always said this, that the EACC may have the best for this country. Unfortunately, enforcement, you see, they don't have it because they have their hands are already tied. They may be having the best of the brains. There are people I've worked with for many years, and I really pity them because sometimes we sit down and talk and we discuss, and I ask them, so what is the way forward? They say, we can do up to where the law allows us to do.
You see that?
Now you see the idea of asking the head of civil service. It should not be the case.
That person,
they should actually be simply when they decide they need to deal with you.
The head of the civil service is too far away from this.
Exactly.
It's very remote. Ask yourself a simple question. What do you think? Why do you think crime is proliferated with ease? In the West that we keep referring to in countries like Singapore, my friend, it is high risk and very low reward. Yeah, you can be correct.
Yes, exactly.
But my friend, the risk you run,
They will get you, yeah.
and the reward is low. Here it's a complete
opposite.
Low risk,
high reward.
High reward.
Yes.
So how then do you expect to eliminate something that has those features?
I don't think we can skirt around this, because the truth of the matter is that if we wanted to, and I'm going to chalk it up 100% to will.
Yes.
If we wanted to deal with this thing perpendicularly, as they say,
we can.
We actually can.
Yes.
But you know what? Why would I want to remove something? It's just like you're asking. The enforcement mechanism that has been put in place, who drafted it? Is it not there? Is it not there essentially to protect some certain people?
Yes.
The other day, what we were trying to say, that procurement matters should only be dealt with at that level, so that individuals who may have been corrupt can get their day to explain why they were corrupt. Are you kidding? If you want to really deal with something, you will deal with it.
Yes, exactly.
But the truth of the matter is that these are all suggestions. It's a suggestion not to be corrupt. It's a suggestion. While you're there, if you happen to stumble upon a situation that is tempting, we may or we may not, deal with you, but we're going to shout very loudly in public to show that we don't actually stomach this thing.
Let me just tell you something. The problems of the police officers on our traffic roads, is it something new?
No.
I drive behind matatus all the time. And now there are always 4 traffic police officers at one point on a roadblock. And this day they don't put the physical roadblock. Have you realized? They just stand there. But anytime a matatu passes by, the police officer will flag it down, and then they will go where the conductor is, and you see him stretching his hand and picking the 50 or plus 100 shillings. All right? And this is something, not that they don't know. Think, for example, both the army and the police are from the disciplined forces. But then look at the army. The army are disciplined so well. You don't find such a things happening there. But the police have already developed this culture. I have, for example, did a proposal to the which I'm looking for an opportunity to meet the minister, the cabinet secretary for internal security and administration, my brother, Professor Kindiki. All right, to sit down and help this government deal with the issue of unethical conduct within our police force. It is something we can do it simply bringing on board ethics in the police service, ethics in the police. We train them on how to behave well on our roads, how to behave well when they are dealing with the members of the public.
I'm sorry.
And this is the reason. This is the reason. When they go to Kikanjo, they come back. The culture they meet at the workplace is different.
No, Joseph.
So we can change their culture.
No, Joseph. People don't do wrong or right because they don't know that it is wrong.
They know.
People know how they're supposed to operate.
They know,
we know what we're supposed to do.
Exactly.
But the thing is that we've gotten away with doing
so
the
much
wrong thing that it would pose as though you're unaware of the right way to operate.
It is called low risk. You run no risk by being corrupt.
I had the opportunity.
Sorry, Joseph, but even those who have gone to the point whereby they have been sentenced. They've been sentenced.
Yes.
They've been found guilty. They are in jail. But they still can go and run for office and then be voted for, and they sit in.
Exactly. We have so many of them.
Do you think it is because that individual doesn't know right or wrong?
It's unfortunate they know. They know. Now, I'm still insisting that we need to start from somewhere. All right? And every Kenyan must play a role in fighting corruption in this country. All right? The media must play their role. The public must play their role. And my view is that we are looking forward to a situation where in future, the community at the county level, national level, will be able to provide some social audits.
What do you think
to what is happening in public, especially on matters budgets and especially on matters procurement, to be able to control corruption in the public institutions.
What do you think it's going to take to get to the point whereby these acts that all lead to corruption are actually going to be curtailed and folks will have an abhorrence to corruption? What do you think it's going to take?
As it is, he'll take nothing.
Sorry?
It is free for everybody.
No, but in order to change it, to shift the direction, what should happen?
Honestly, it's about the leadership. You may have the best laws, you may have the best statutes in place. The Constitution is the mother of this, and it has provided for leadership. It has provided in Chapter 6 what should be done. But you are seeing what is happening. We know very well how to appoint officers in public and state offices. But we go against the Constitution, and we don't think like it is anything new. It's just normal. And sometimes we may even make reference to the previous appointments, why it happened that way. And so it's about leadership. It's only leadership that actually can be able to provide direction. It's not us, because the laws are there. The procedures are there. The regulations are in place. The leadership is what we need. We need a leader with a transformational mind. A leader who will say, I want to be judged differently from the others. I want to be judged on my role in eradicating corruption in Kenya. That is the leader we are looking for. Because the laws are there. Yes, we have done our bit. But we have, for example, what is the role of CAJ in terms of administration of justice in public institutions? It is there. But we still have victimization and intimidation in public office and state offices. And the CAJ is there. All right? We have the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act is there, provides the mandate of the EACC. But we still have corruption.
So you think that the move that was made yesterday, the move that was, you think that's a good start?
That is a good start. But my problem is sustainability of that. Because if it is not sustained, I'm sorry, if it's not sustained, we'll just go back to where Uhuru left us.
Let me ask you something.
Yes.
If you need the head of the public service to do that, what then is the board's role?
What's wrong?
That is my problem. I've indicated here. It is not supposed to be the head of civil service. It's supposed to be the board of directors to direct the CEO to step down, to direct officers working with the CEO implicated in corruption to step down. It's not the head of civil service, because what we are going to see very soon is somebody will go to court.
Well, these are conversations that cannot come to an end. They are rolling conversations that must continue. And we must thank you, Joseph Okako, for being here this morning, the CEO of the Ethics Institute of East Africa. And thanks to all of you for being here in the room as we have Kenya's biggest conversation this whole week. It comes to an end today, and we're back again on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend, folks. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life